This podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. Head there to check out exclusive podcasts like Talking Futurama, Talk King of the Hill, the What a Cartoon Movie podcast, and tons more.
I heartily endorse this event or product.
Ahoy, hoy, everybody, and welcome to Talking Simpsons, the podcast that eases you through times of doubt and sickness. I'm your host, Mr. Hairless America, Bob Mackey. This is our chronological exploration of The Simpsons. Who is here with me today, as always?
Hey, it's Henry Gilbert. I am right now terrified being cornered by two female strippers.
Who do we have on the line?
It is Andrew Jupin from We Hate Movies. Woo!
Hooray! And this week's episode is A Hunka Burns in Love.
You are a real winner. Whew, that fortune really nailed me. And my winning ways.
This week's episode originally aired on December 2nd, 2001. And as always, Henry will tell us what happened on this mythical day in real-world history.
Oh boy, Bobby. After a counting scandal that rocked the world, it is revealed that Enron has officially declared bankruptcy and will lay off 4,000 employees. The biggest Chapter 11 up until WorldCom 2 years after that, and dwarfed by the Lehman Brothers one in 2008. So, yeah, when we were kids, we thought, oh, Enron doesn't get bigger than this in economic scandals. Like, no, it's far, far dwarfed. But also, Smash Brothers Melee is released for the GameCube, and behind enemy lines can't beat Harry Potter at the box office. So if you were a gamer back then or in the last 20 years who's super into Smash, you might still be playing Smash Brothers Melee on your GameCube, refusing to recognize the current last 20 years of Smash Brothers games as new installments, and you only want to play Smash Brothers Melee.
Yeah, I think they still sell GameCube controllers for... Did they make them for the Switch as well? Because they made them for the Wii U.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
You can just plug in there's a USB thing that you then can plug into your Switch stand and then plug GameCube controllers into that. Like, even to this day, playing Smash, the current one, Ultimate, with a GameCube controller still feels correct to my brain. Like, I know some other, definitely the more hardcore Smash fans, I think they like to mix it up. Though I think I've seen some of the tournament level players still using a GameCube controller.
I love the GameCube, but that controller is insane. It's so weird.
It's so great.
Every button is a different shape. It's like it looks like a Fisher-Price toy.
I love that about it. I love the hexagonal ridges of the C-stick, that it's not just an easy circle.
Smash Brothers is a franchise that, like, I'm so intimidated by. I mean, I was in Melee I was deep into GameCube hardcore, and I totally fell off with Smash Brothers, and I want to get back into it, but every time I look, we were talking about like feeling old off the air. I look at these characters and I'm like, I don't know who 70% of you people are. But would you recommend sort of just like a face first diving back in on Switch with whatever like most recent one is available?
I think Ultimate is, well, as friendly to new players as any could be, but it's the Smash Brothers world is very insular, and I think if you go online, you'll just get your butt kicked. But I think at the very least, Ultimate has every character that's ever been in a Smash game plus tons of new ones. So, in some of the sequels, if you had a person you loved in Melee, they might not have been there, only in a couple rare cases, but they will definitely be in Ultimate. So if you're like, oh, I used to play as Dr. Mario, then there wasn't Dr. Mario in this last one. This now has Dr. Mario in it, for example, or the Ice Climbers.
And like 14 Fire Emblem characters.
Well, yes, yeah. There's so much you can complain about with Melee or post Melee. Like in Ultimate, it's like so many guys with swords, and I love playing as 4 of the guys with swords, but then there's 8 other guys with swords that are just kind of repetitive.
Hey, sword guys are easy to make, right? And the Enron thing, just to comment on that, it's just like I feel like my adult life was like the champagne smashing against the boat was like the first big depression of the 2000s, and there were like 3 more. I think we're kind of in one now. We've all gotten used to living with so much less that we don't know what our incomes should be or what things should cost anymore. That Enron just looks so innocent now.
A little bit, yeah. But the Enron guys, like in the documents that came out, like we were shocked then. They're like, wow, they're just like evil. They're laughing in an evil way on this phone call about how like, oh, can you believe like this woman won't be without her power? She's gonna freeze. Ha ha ha. Like now we're not shocked. They're like, yeah, that's how evil these people are.
Nope.
Like, yeah.
It's and I mean, I guess that in itself is totally unfortunate that the shock of the whole thing is just totally dulled. And similarly with recessions and all of that, I'll see a headline that's like, oh yeah, sort of nearing the next recession or whatever, and I'm like, aren't we just still always recessing in one way or another, folks?
Yeah, I feel like that's like saying like, oh, it's the hottest day on record or whatever. Like, well, that's every summer. It's the next hottest day. Like,
exactly. Yeah, things just continue getting worse. It will always be hotter. Like,
But the good news is
surprised by shit.
The good news is we're used to it.
Yes, yeah.
You can't kill what's already dead.
And yeah, that Harry Potter movie is still ruling the box office by, as I think it pretty much is number one for a lot of the 01 Christmas until the Lord of the Rings shows up at the end of Christmas.
Sure, because it was a like Thanksgiving release, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Harry Potter was
the first Harry Potter, if I'm remembering right, because it was that was one of the first big movie releases. I had to work like as a usher at the multiplex I came up in, and boy, that was just living hell.
Yeah,
every weekend was a living hell.
Almost
as much of a living hell as seeing Behind Enemy Lines in theaters, which I also did.
That was like eerie timing, because it's like, oh, hey, now this is what war movies are now. It's like, it's the same. It's the scary, the white guy against the scary horde of non-white people all coming at you. Everything's orange all the time. It's funny, Andrew, you mentioned that, the Harry Potter, like my first job at a multiplex, and I only worked at a movie theater for like 2 years, was at an AMC the next year when the second Harry Potter film came out a year later. And yeah, it was Harry. I worked a lot of big days, but I think Harry Potter releases were like the worst ones to work, I think.
Oh, those were really bad. And the only one to date that has beat that, and I don't work for a multiplex anymore, I'm still in the business exhibition wise, but the Ron Howard Jim Carrey Grinch movie was the absolute, like, you would walk into the theater after the movie was over and it would be decimated, as if people were buying concessions just to dump it on the floor. It was really, really bad for weeks on end. That movie was unstoppable, and the garbage on the floor was also quite unstoppable.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I never. The worst I can recall is, I think it was Brother Bear, but it was like the Disney movie.
Okay.
And I think a couple times I went in there like feeling that a parent bought popcorn and their child just like, oh, thanks for the popcorn, Mom, dump, and just put it all on the floor.
Yep.
Like, they didn't eat one kernel of popcorn, and they wasted that.
People go to the movies, they turn into animals. They turn into total animals, like just a bunch of raccoons out for a night at the movies. It's wild.
I only heard stories of people catching sex acts in theaters. I never had to stop it as an usher in my time, but
I never stopped one. I just sort of passed by and let them go about their business.
Kind of clear your throat, like, someone else is here.
Now theaters are so empty, I say try it, No one's gonna find you.
Give it a shot.
Hey, go see a screening of Drive My Car at like 2 p.m. and start fucking. I guarantee you no one will find you.
Start with some hand stuff and work your way up.
You'll have 3 hours to come.
My God,
I was edging through all 3 hours to Drive My Car.
I'm not used to hearing Bob be I've been the dirtier voice on
it's
these
the
podcasts.
We Hate Movies energy that's doing it to me. And speaking of which,
it's just my filth waves are spreading off on both of you. I apologize.
And speaking of We Hate Movies, Andrew Jupin back on the show. Welcome back to the show, Andrew. Always happy to have you back.
Woo.
Yes, thank you, fellas. It's always great to be here talking Simpsons, literally one of my favorite things of all time.
Thank you. Yeah, we're big fans of We Hate Movies. We say it every time. I just listened to back-to-back your Kill Bills Volume 1 and 2. They're great. Like that.
Oh, okay.
Speaking again of like movie theater memories, like, because that was the only time I worked in a theater, the only Tarantino movie that came out while I was there, and that did feel special. Like, I was like, wow, I am a super film geek who got into it, became a video store and movie theater guy because of a love of Tarantino movies, and finally I'm here when a Tarantino movie's coming out in theaters. I feel like I'm part of it, man.
Totally. The back-to-back of that. I was in college, so I was only working at the hometown multiplex on breaks and everything. So I think the second one lined up with my spring break. That's kind of funny you say that, Henry, because like that was my thing too. Like him and Kevin Smith, like movie nerd geek shit. I was like, you're gonna work either at a video store or at the multiplex, and one just happened to win out over the other. I was not hired at a Hollywood Video, which felt really great at the time.
I did both sides of the coin. I did 2 years at an AMC movie theater, and then 2 years at a Blockbuster, and then 2 years at a mom and pop video store, which and none of those existed. Well, the AMC theater does still exist, but
and it was your path to become Randall.
That is, yep. I didn't dream of becoming Randall, but I did. It happened.
Oh.
But yeah, I guess really love that Kill Bill one. It took me back to being a film buff in the theater. And when I worked there, when Volume 1 came out, I will never forget, it was the same week as the House of the Dead total dog shit film. It was Halloween, and people, I seriously was telling people like, no, this movie's awful, like as in customers, they'd be coming, and I'd say, I see you've got House of the Dead tickets. I promise you Kill Bill's better. You're going to hate this movie. And they wouldn't do. Nobody listened to me.
I was told that bodies would hit the floor. That's why I'm buying my ticket.
Excuse me, we were promised bodies hitting the floor. I still haven't seen that movie. Still happy to avoid.
Is that Uwe Boll?
It's an Uwe Boll classic. Okay. Yes, yeah. It was the first one I was introduced to working in a movie theater. I just knew it as like, oh yeah, a video game movie. And then once I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing. I couldn't. I didn't pay for it. I watched it with coworkers, but yeah. Well, I guess Andrew, do you recall watching this almost 3 months after September 11th in 2001?
So this was so oddly for me, I don't know, and I've never been able to figure out why, but for whatever reason, my final year of high school, which is when this aired, I just was not watching new Simpsons. And then oddly, when I went to college, I got back to it for a year and then fell off completely. So I don't know what it was about that year. There wasn't any like episode from season 12 that I was like, that's it. I don't think so. But yeah, so I didn't watch this one live. I think like caught it on a rerun at some point, like later on down the line. It definitely wasn't like waiting for, Disney Plus or like the DVD to come out or something. I saw it at some point, but not on the broadcast date.
Wow, man. For us, I think for a lot of people, 9/11 kind of shook our viewing patterns of Simpsons a little bit. That was it for me, for sure.
Not me. I was watching this. You know what? I did like it at the time because Burns stories around this time weren't done very often. We talked about it. Mike Scully didn't use Burns very often. I think in his 4-year run, I can only recall 3 Burns episodes, and this was one of them. There's The Trouble with Trillions, there's the one with the Loch Ness Monster, and then there's this one that are all Burns focused. There might be another one, but even one a season feels like not enough Burns for me.
Oh, the Mansion family. That's,
right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I guess to me it's more of a Burns B plot.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's they move into Burns' house, but it doesn't really focus on Burns. Well, because I don't think he's not as into the old timey stuff, and Burns is kind of there's bits in this where I'm like, boy, I wish Bill and Josh, if they were overseeing this, there'd be a lot more like specifics, old timey specifics. I did watch this when it was new, but I didn't like it all that much. I didn't. There's some bits where I'm like, oh, I don't think Homer should say that or whatever. When Homer says wiener, especially, I was like, he left me in a bad taste.
And this is so true, obviously, of the movie, which you guys were kind enough to chat about on We Hate Movies a while back. Like The Simpsons and genitalia in general, like leave it out. Leave it out. They're little people with 4 fingers anyway. They're not like, real human beings. I would just like to imagine they're never talking about genitalia, and certainly not seeing it like that movie. But that line to me, last night watching it, it was like, I don't know about that, Homer. I don't know.
Act 2, Marge just gets plowed.
Oh, man. Yeah.
This is a filthy episode.
Yeah.
That part really slayed me. I cut him with the drool running up the stairs. I was worried I was going to wake my wife up. It was some scream laughing going on in the house.
I mean, I think funny stuff in this. I do feel like the guest star is wasted. We'll get to her later, but yeah, I mean,
the great guest star.
Great guest star.
She's great.
And she's back a few times playing this character.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She comes back in season 19 and season 20. Yeah, and for non-speaking roles too. But yeah, I think it's also just so weird that like I'm not used to this many holdovers. Like this is 5. The season starts with 5 season 12 production ones. Like that's how much they held over.
Over time, it only gets worse. Where half of a season is like half of the last production season.
Yeah, I definitely I think the writer's strike in 07 I think really hurt that and damaged it, or the timing of it. But yeah, this is like late in the run for Swartzwelder. Well, I think we have one Swartzwelder script after this, or 2. Like Last Discut in the West is coming soon.
There's like 7 more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
so we still got quite a bit to go through. But yeah, we're in the last days of Swartzwelder as well.
Yeah, which this feels like Swartzwelder is doing his thing, but he got rewritten a little too much. Like I don't know. There's some bits where I'm like, oh, this just feels like a regular sitcom, not like a Swartzwelder-y kind of joke. There's some in here that do feel like a Swartzwelder-y joke, and then other ones that feel like like a friend script complaining about a girlfriend, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, anytime you sort of venture into that, like, relationship advice area, which is all that this episode is Homer helping Burns, date and carry them up to bed, as Julia says. Like, yeah, it just feels a little too conventional in that way. Like, what is the wacky, sort of Simpsons-esque twist about this? And there kind of isn't one.
I definitely think of wingman comedy stuff as not being a Simpsons thing, as being more of like a Friends or Friends knockoff style thing for sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Scully didn't use Burns as much because he didn't like doing stuff in the power plant. And there's the joke in his era, do you even have a job anymore, Homer?
Right.
I think I obviously don't. So, yeah, Burns is stuck there. But, Lenny and Carl, they can be anywhere they want to be. They could be like at Moe's. They could be bowling with Homer. But Burns is kind of stuck in the plant, and they don't really go there a lot in this era. So I think that's why. This is also, I mean, Burns never remembers Homer, but there's not even like Smithers pointing out, that's a man that works for you, sir.
Yes.
It's like, no, Homer is just some young man that Burns runs into in the street.
Well, Smithers is gone at the end of Act 1, too. Like, they just kind of like, we did the one jealous Smithers joke. We don't need more. I also think this episode is one of the, like, horniest episodes. Like, this gave a lot of guidelines to online artists of, like, how do you draw, like, a sexy girl's butt in Simpson style? Well, here you go. Like, there's maybe hornier episodes, but this has the most like drawings of sexy women in any Simpsons episode, I think. And one last preamble thing too that I found out was that in its first airing, it was dedicated to George Harrison because he had passed away 4 days before this aired.
So after they walk up to the sunset talking about beards, it's like in loving memory.
Yes. Dedicated to our friend George Harrison. Yes, it only did it in the first airing though, but that's usually how they do it. They do first airing, they put it, but they don't keep it in the later ones. Yeah,
I think that's the move. I mean, especially when you're talking about an episode like this, which isn't great, and then it's like, do you really want this to be dedicated to George Harrison for all eternity? like acknowledge that he passed away in your broadcast, and then get rid of that title card.
Yeah, it's. I think that's pretty much their practice since. I think they probably started it with Phil Hartman. I think that was the first episode dedicated to.
Which one was that?
His final appearance.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think yes, his final appearance, because the show wasn't airing new episodes when he died, so I think they waited for the remembrance for his last episode in Bart the Mother.
I want to say that the memorial to Linda McCartney is still in Trash of the Titans. Is it still at the end of that one? I have vague memories of us talking about that.
I think it might be,
because you see like a picture of her cartoon self as she was on the show.
Right, man. They really do it for the Beatles, though. You wonder, like, if you were a guest on Simpsons and you died and then you didn't get one of those, because they don't do it for everybody, I'd be offended. Right. You know? Yeah.
In loving memory.
Bob, quick question. I was just curious, like, when you were saying, was it Swartzwelder didn't like doing episodes in the plant?
I think it was the showrunner at this time, Mike Scully. Like, he was really leaning into Homer getting new jobs. I mean, every showrunner did that, but he was like really focused on that. So I think that's why we don't see a lot of Burns, because Burns really can't leave the plant.
Unless you give him a girlfriend for an episode. That's they tried to find a way.
So was there ever in loving memory of Joe C at the end?
Oh, I don't think so.
See, he got screwed.
Back then, it's like, okay, Phil Hartman or someone related to the Beatles, like either George Harrison or Linda McCartney. When now they do it for even just a writer, which they should. I like that they do that, but like the Frank Mula, when he passed away, like that's how we learned Frank Mula, the writer of the Valentine's classic. Like we learned he passed away because they dedicated an episode to him of the show.
I mean, frankly,
Oh, wow.
not to get too depressing here, but when a show is 33 years old, too many people are dying. We don't have room for everybody to be remembered. So,
Jeez, that's
True.
depressing thought.
in like 1998, it's like, oh, a guest star died. That's tragic. But now it's just like every week it's somebody new.
So this episode starts with we got a chalkboard gag. Bart was complaining about fun-sized candy, which is a big scam. I had never liked that as a kid. And then couch gag is a prison break, which also, kind of funny for the funny timing for the style for this episode. And then, all right, this is weird. So we have Treehouse 12, which starts with them going to Ethnic Town.
Yes, actually, Eric Siska was joining us on our trip to Ethnic Town.
Then we had Homer the Mo, which also starts with comment on China and China being like watching people from their satellite. And then here again, it's like, let's go to Chinatown. It's like, have a new pitch for your opening Act 1 thing. You can't, the third time in a row, like Act 1 is like, the Simpsons go to an ethnic place and also Chinese things. Like, I don't know. There's some of this, like, Toys L Us, that sign gag I am not a fan of.
Yeah,
like,
grown.
I don't like that.
No, that's really bad. And I mean, look, if you want to have them go to Chinatown, I mean, I guess that's fine. The music which accompanies them there does not need to exist. That was the big yikes moment for me, because I think I was looking down for a second, like away from the TV, and that audio cue hit, and I was like, holy God.
It does feel like in this, the joke is rarely on The Simpsons. They're just like, everything here is weird, and they'll eat anything, won't they? It just feels like it's all about Chinese people.
I was thinking of it in comparison to like The Simpsons Try Sushi from a decade before this one, and that one, I'm not saying it's like the most aged perfectly sketch, but it certainly is more like, yes, The Simpsons are judged as weird for the joke is on The Simpsons for not liking sushi, and sushi's actually good and they learn their lesson. Here it is more like, aren't Chinese people weird? And the cat knows his bit too. I really don't like that.
The Burns line, like, not to get too far ahead, but that was like the atomic one. The Burns joke when he's dealing with the delivery driver, and it's funny because I mentioned that to the guys just on our group thread, and Steve said to me, "Oh well," and I said, that's not a joke that they would have done like in the early 90s or something. And Steve said, well, what about like when Krusty, and it wasn't early 90s, but when Krusty is dealing with all like the 90s alt comics and he has the Flying Dickie thing. And I said, yeah, but that, like, yes, but that joke is more like, look how dated and shitty Krusty is. Whereas this Burns line with him and this delivery guy is like, it's just a thing that Burns is doing, and that's it. Like, that is the quote unquote joke, is him talking like that. And you're like, so like the comparison I don't think is there between the Krusty joke and this one.
Yeah, I think too, this was the era of like, it's South Park, it's Family Guy, it's the style of the time of like, racism is over, so we can do ironic racism jokes, which end up just being like, no, that's just kind of racist.
There's another Chinese thing. I think it might be in Children of a Lesser Clod. I forget, but Grandpa is saying all the things you can do on your own, and one of them is befriend a Chinese man.
Yeah.
And the guy says, Mr. Simpson, why did you leave the home? And he's like, but whatever, ping pong. And the guy goes, my name is Craig.
Yes.
So they're really sticking it to the Chinese.
Yeah,
we have that Wickham line, like, lay off the Chinese, would you, Lou? Or lay off the Asians.
Yeah, lay off the Asians, Lou. You keep pitching Asian stuff. I think we probably said it in the previous one, but I do also think, like, I do believe staff writer at the time, Dana Gould, was applying to adopt a child from China with his wife, and so I think maybe this is bringing in some of the China baggage into this. I don't know, but I was trying to look up too of like, so they have a bit about Tibet Town as being bullied in Chinatown, which obviously the Tibet freedom movement was, the very in thing in the late aughts, and I mean it's still Tibet's still not free, but we don't really talk about it as much anymore. I guess it's not a...
Well, the Beastie Boys aren't around to let us know about it.
Well, one of them's dead and the others are pretty old, I get it. But I did wonder if that episode, was cut from, for as far as I can tell, that joke is still on the China version of Disney Plus. It not like that other episode that got cut entirely. But yeah, it's...
Oh, which one did they cut entirely? Which one?
The one where they visit China to adopt a baby. It's a season 16
Goo
one.
Goo Gai Pan.
That's right, Goo Goo Gai Pan.
I think they didn't cut this joke because you can't really see what's happening through that fence. It's not visually done very well. I wish they would cut into the yard, but I mean, the joke is that Tibetan people are being roughed up as prisoners.
Right.
And then we get a Chinese dragon joke, which comes 9 months after on Futurama in the episode Bending in the Wind. They also do a Chinese New Year dragon joke. In that one, it's revealed that it's like a giant caterpillar wearing a costume, not a bunch of people. In this case, it's just a living dragon. That this is actually more fantastical than the Futurama joke.
And when Harry Shearer says the word "frush," I'm like, I can see why Hank Azaria is doing all the Asian voices on this show.
Yeah, I don't like that. And they're also just reusing character models. That's the character model for Lord Humongous, who was in Homer the Moe.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then we cut to the Chinese restaurant they're eating at, which is Bob's Big Buddha, which it's cute enough. It is reminiscent of Bob's Big Boy, which me and Bob, we have eaten at the Burbank Bob's Big Boy that is featured in Heat. If you know the one from Heat where they're hanging out. We're also
How was the food?
It was adequate tuna melt.
Yes, yeah, it was totally all right. I ordered the Big Boy, which was a big burger back then. Now, not so much, not so special, but really, you're going there for the ambiance to walk by like, whoa, that's where Val Kilmer and Robert De Niro talked about something, and they have a. I don't think they even have a picture. No, I think there's one picture, but in 1965, the Beatles ate there too. So there's the Beatle booth. That's where the Beatles sat and ate a big fat American food.
That's why George Harrison is dead now.
Yeah, I wonder if the Big Boy did any sort of dedication when he passed away.
They should have.
They moved his arm to make it salute. He dropped the plate, and they twisted the wrist around. So.
But
he's got a black armband on. They put the little Beatles face on it.
The Simpsons will be right back.
Attention all fans! The Simpsons Global Fan Fest has begun. Special events, contests, merchandise, and more. Woohoo! Visit headquarters at thesimpsons.com. Now, The Simpsons on Fox.
Welcome to the break, everybody, and we thank you for listening and hope that you're feeling as youthful as Old Man Burns. And a big thank you to our guest this week, Andrew Jupin. As awesome as always to have on. Andrew, we are big fans of the We Hate Movies podcast. Check out their weekly podcast, and they're also going on tour these days, so look up their live dates as well for We Hate Movies. Thank you as always, Andrew. And if you are enjoying this podcast, you should know that Talking Simpsons is only possible because of the support of listeners like you who go to patreon.com/Talking Simpsons and subscribe. Subscribers there not only get every episode of Talking Simpsons a week ahead of time and ad-free, you can hear next week's episode right now if you signed up. You also get a monthly episode of Talking Futurama and a monthly episode of Talking of the Hill that's only available on Patreon. Me and Bob covering a new episode of Futurama and King of the Hill in the Talking Simpsons style once a month. Plus, you get access to the giant back catalog of all of our previous episodes of Futurama and King of the Hill, as well as us covering every episode of The Critic, Mission Hill, and our 10 favorite episodes of Batman, the animated series. Check all of that out at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. But you want something nicer than even a Bugatti Sexarosa, then you should sign up at the $10 level at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons, because premium subscribers there not only get all the $5 things I just mentioned, but also they get access to the monthly What a Cartoon movie, where me and Bob cover an animated feature film mega in-depth, just like we do with The Simpsons. That means we go super into the history and the film scene by scene. Often it goes over 4 hours, sometimes even 5 hours, and this month is our longest one yet. Me and Bob dig deep, and I mean deep, into Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's the movie we've been wanting to do for a long time. We finally got to do it, and we talked for over 6.5 hours. Yes, 6.5 hours about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the making of it, all the cameos, scene by scene, all of it. Please sign up at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons at the $10 level to hear that, plus all of our recent ones. Next month, we're doing Toy Story 3. The month before, we did 1940s Pinocchio. Before that, South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and a giant back catalog that covers movies like Beavis and Butthead Do America, The Lion King, a Goofy movie, Akira, Kiki's Delivery Service, and tons more. Over 250 hours of What a Cartoon Movie podcast at your fingertips, plus all the other stuff. Go to patreon.com/Talking Simpsons today to see it all. But so yeah, we just get a bunch of like, isn't Chinese food crazy jokes here, which is just like, I don't know. I guess if you've never eaten at a Chinese restaurant before, I suppose there is some level of culture shock of like, oh, they serve this here. I wouldn't eat this at a non-Chinese restaurant. But I don't know. By 2001, it feels like people have eaten at Chinese restaurants enough. Like, this isn't like 1978, you know?
The biggest thing I took away from this, movement here is they totally kind of repeat a joke from Itchy and Scratchy Land, because Bart's like, I'll have the shark butt with extra butt sauce, and Marge freaks out, and then he's like, no, it's on the menu. And that's the same thing when he's ordering whatever it is at the crazy Itchy and Scratchy Land restaurant, baby brains or
yes,
whatever.
the baby guts,
right.
Baby guts, right.
That's veal.
Yeah.
When Marge sees the menu, I was disappointed there weren't more jokes on it.
It goes, I think that's why it's like half a second, because they're like, we didn't even write extra jokes to this. It's just like above it is like chow mein, below it is like, General Sal. Like, there's nothing else to it. It's just shark butt right in the middle. Yeah, they could have been a little more creative with that. But, and speaking,
well, with the track record of the rest of those jokes, I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
maybe it's for the best that was just left.
Well, and speaking of uncreative, George Takei is one of the most famous Japanese Americans in the world. What he is not is Chinese. And I looked on his wiki page, and like his parents, neither parent is Chinese. I don't know if he has any Chinese ancestry in there. And it really feels like just what white casting people do in Hollywood back then, especially of just like Chinese, Japanese, whatever. He can play the Chinese waiter. Like, don't just get George in here again. Like, he had played the waiter at the sushi restaurant, which again, like, that made more sense because he's Hikaru Sulu, but he's not. It just feels weird to me. He's playing a Chinese waiter. I don't know.
Yeah, he comes back a bunch, but never as Akira. In the show. So he started as Akira, the sushi waiter, but then every time he comes back, it's just Hank Azaria doing a Sulu voice. But it's just inexplicable why he's cast as this character, a thankless role. I guess it's good that it's not just, Hank doing another. I guess because Hank can only do so many Asian voices, there's more than one Asian character in the scene. It's like, let's just get George.
Sure. But man, I just don't get it. Like, I get it that they're just, it does feel to me that they just feel like Asian actors are interchangeable. Like, that's what the messaging to me is when they cast a Japanese American, one of the most famous Japanese Americans there is. It's funny on the commentary because they recorded it when Takei was recently out, so they're talking about him being gay and all that, which was interesting. Like, when it was novel. Now he's been out so long, we're kind of bored by it. Like, yeah, Sulu's gay. We all know. Like, whoop-de-doo. But the
doc that they put out that is all about him coming out and his activism was pretty good. The name of which escapes me, but I'll never forget his "It's okay to be Takei" in place of "It's okay to be gay." I love him and his husband Brad. They are fabulous people.
Him and Brad are great. I like they tell a funny story that in Matt Selman, he lives in the same ritzy Hollywood neighborhood as them, and that he'll answer the door in his Sulu outfit on Halloween and give out candy. Like,
Oh, what a sweetheart.
and apparently Brad is in costume too. I wonder if he you think he goes as Sulu, or that he goes as Chekhov, and they're like kind of a Sulu Chekhov /fic together.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Who would you /fic Sulu with? I guess, Chekhov and him, they're kind of at similar importance levels. So, I mean, I guess you could see him with, I wouldn't want Sulu with Kirk. That's, I don't like that.
I'd say him and that lizard monster.
the Gorn?
He could tame him.
Gorn?
He could tame the Gorn.
He could tame the Gorn.
Although if he was dominating on Kirk, that would kind of be like ultimate Sulu revenge, and Takei just hates him so much. So
that's
I don't
true.
know, I'd read that story.
If he's topping Kurt, sure, okay, I'm down. But yeah, then we also get a joke of that. I have heard from vegetarian friends like at some Chinese restaurants you can't get vegetarian meals, but maybe I'm just spoiled living here. There's always like vegan and vegetarian options at Chinese restaurants now. Like I'm pretty used to that. And again, just cat noses. I'm like, please don't do Chinese people feed you cats at their restaurant jokes. I don't like that.
It's like we're lingering on this a while, but it just shows you how dated this stuff is because like 4 years before this, King of the Hill had the episode where Khan Supanusaphone and his family moved to Ireland. They're the new neighbors. The Hills have all of these preconceptions about Asian people, including the fact that they might eat dogs and cats. And a big joke in the episode is Hank thinks they killed Lady Bird and are serving her. And the joke is like the white person has the misconception.
Yes, yeah. And the joke's on the white person. Instead, here the joke is, no, the Chinese people are offering you cat noses because they do feed you cats. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I do remember the Hank Hill joke when they move into the neighborhood. So are you Chinese or Japanese? We're Laotian. We're from Laos. Got it. So are you Chinese or Japanese? You're like, oh, man.
Hank. For a lot of Americans to imagine Asian countries that aren't China or Japan is still hard for them. It's difficult. But yes, it's also, I feel like I have to just play the jingle of them trying to serve Lisa with, is there any way we can enhance your dining experience by hurting an animal? That's a real take that Lisa's belief moment there, which I must play the jingle. It doesn't get used as much as I thought.
Take that, Lisa's beliefs.
Well, I don't want to get on my pescatarian soapbox here. It's very slippery because it's full of fish. But I do feel like a lot of people, especially in America, especially as I was becoming, a not eating most kinds of meat kind of person like 15 years ago, a lot of people see like if a food item does not have meat in it, it's like a ripoff. Like, well, that's something that has to be included in every meal. Like, where's the meat? Hey, Goober, where's the meat?
Where's the meat? Yeah.
And I think that's like a notion a lot of people have. Like, if there's not a meat element of your meal, you're being shortchanged in some way.
Well, like you
Not
think,
accurate, of course, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, well, you think like, why'd I go out to dinner if I can't get meat? Like, I could eat a thing that's not meat right at home. Like, I paid for
I could
meat.
grow this corn.
So then they enjoy their meal, and that's where we get our first clip with fortune cookies, which again, it's like, I don't know, this feels again like a 1979 joke. Like, I mean, fortune cookies were, I think I thought it before watching this, but I actually am critical of fortunes that are not, that are too like indirect or just like an aphorism or whatever of like, hey, now always remember, look both ways before crossing the street or whatever, or just like,
or sometimes it's just a bunch of numbers. Like,
Yes.
here are your numbers. I didn't request this.
I want actual predictions. I really do want that. But actually, my biggest laugh in the episode is at the start of this clip because they just play Dan saying a line twice. Like, I just give this a listen here.
Fortune cookies. And now to read my fortune. Geese can be troublesome. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Oh, fortune means geese cause problems.
Well, I knew that before I came in here. A guy outside told me that.
Every house has a bathroom.
Oh, these fortunes are terrible.
Is there a problem?
These fortunes are terrible. They're supposed to predict stuff and ease you through times of doubt and sickness.
Well, with all due respect, sir, I suppose you could come up with better fortunes?
Easy.
Well,
You will be aroused by a shampoo commercial.
that's not bad. Come with me.
Yeah, I just love hearing Homer say it twice in a row. These fortunes are terrible. These fortunes, it's like they just hit a sound board. I love that about it.
It definitely has the feel of a Jay Sherman, buy my book.
Yes.
Buy my book.
This little job for Homer doesn't really pan out, though. He kind of forgets he has it. He's very invested in it for like the first act, and then it's like, well, then a dog steals his gum, and he burns his friend.
Yeah, this though it does turn into a bit of, it's just comedy writers writing about being comedy writers at this point, of like, oh, that Homer is having a Star is Born kind of moment of just like, he said these jokes weren't funny, and then he proved he could write a funny joke, except replace joke with fortune cookie slips. And then it even just turns into an old writer's room, which boy, then seeing Woody Allen, I'm like, oh man, boy, this is just a lot of stuff in here I don't like seeing.
It's still a fun voice.
Sure.
It's like, why do the most demented perverts have the funniest voices? Like Woody Allen and Bill Cosby? It's not fair.
Yeah, we need some stand-up citizens that just sound ridiculous. You're totally right.
And I was thinking about this fortune cookie thing. Maybe it's because we live in the Bay Area in Berkeley, but whenever I get Chinese food, they don't give me one of these because I think they know, like, you don't care about this bullshit. But, like, if I go out for a meal, like a Chinese dinner, I think it's usually like an orange slice they give you at the end. It's never the cookie. I never get the cookie anymore. I think it's more of like a buffet thing now.
That's interesting, because I've noticed recently, too, my place just down here on the block, the takeout place, has totally gotten rid of the fortune cookie in the delivery bag, but they do have really delicious, faux meat replacement options, which is nice. But yeah, the fortune cookie, I don't know if it's maybe like a supply chain thing, but it's been gone like sometimes since the pandemic. They wiped it out, and I was wondering what the deal was there.
One of those ships in the Suez Canal is just full of fortune cookies, and it went down.
Well, those fortune cookies, though, are good forever because they're not made to be eaten. Like, it is like, I'm surprised there wasn't a joke about how, like, most fortune cookies are, like, crappy. They just shatter the second you bite them, and might cut your cheek, as happened to Milhouse with that gum.
You know what you do if you're at a Chinese buffet, you want to get ice cream, you crumble that fortune cookie on top, buddy.
Oh, hey, that's,
you got a little special treat, and you get a fortune.
Buffet hack.
I also like hearing on the commentary Lance Kramer. He doesn't have a ton to say, but he talks about how the fortunes are pink in there, which he at first did not like, and it sounded like he felt that an animator went rogue because he thinks it is too distracting. But the person who changed it, she took him to their local the Chinese restaurant that they went to by the office, and she's like, see, the fortunes in here are pink, it's accurate. But he said it taught him the lesson of, like, in the office, don't make things pink without permission. You have to get permission to change something to be pink. Which my first thought, if I am imagining what's inside a cookie I break, I see white paper.
White paper, it's for me.
I've gotten pink paper, not to say I've never gotten it, but I see white paper.
Oh, absolutely. I've had pink a few times, but it's definitely 99.9% of the time it's been white paper. Also, the thing I could not stop thinking about during this whole fortune cookie sequence is that they top every single one of the jokes in this sequence in the episode. I think it's with Mindy Simmons, and they go to the restaurant, and he looks at the cookie, and it's like, you see the guys in the back, and it's like, we ran out of you'll find happiness with a new love. Okay, just give him one of the stick with your wife cookies. Whatever that joke I'm butchering is, like, and it's just so simple and precise and really hysterical. And like, in the face of the 9 fortune cookie jokes we have in this sequence that just fall flat, almost all of them.
I do like the very Swartzweldery idea that these fortunes are hand typed on the tiny slips.
Yes,
they're not just like pre-written phrases that come out of like a big spool or whatever. Just people are writing them all individually.
And each restaurant makes them themselves. They don't like order they don't order like a giant crate of them that they use for the entire year. They make them that day. And also, when Woody Allen junks his writing, he has to put it in a tiny trash can because it has to be the right size for the paper he's throwing away. It's smaller paper, so he has to throw it in a small trash can. But I kind of wish these Woody Allen jokes are meaner. Like they, in Scully's years, they had meaner jokes at his expense. Like in the Tokyo one, when he says like he's doing a commercial in Japan, feeling that he's demeaning himself. He's like, man, what did I do to deserve this? Oh, right. Like, that's a good joke. Like, this seems to me more like, oh, isn't Woody Allen just like a funny guy? There's no jokes about his, public, the things that are public record, let's say.
Totally. You're sort of waiting for the other shoe to fall there, especially because of the absolutely great Rainier Wolfcastle. I'm a neurotic nerd who likes to sleep with little girls.
I know.
Which is just another fucking sick burn from, way back before this episode.
It's kind of awkward on the commentary, actually. I don't know if you noticed that, Bob, where like it sounded like, I think Al Jean, especially on the Critic and also on Simpsons, but even more on Critic, he had some of the meanest Woody Allen jokes on there, totally deserved. Like,
and they were all like Soon Yi based.
Yes, yeah, or just like, what a cute girlfriend, Jay. Does she have a daughter? Like, right. Jokes like that. But then they're asking Al Jean on there of like, oh, hey, you had him on the Critic, right? And he's like, we joked about him on the Critic. And they're like, oh, why haven't we had Woody Allen on the show? And Al Jean's like, and then they have to address the very awkward thing that Julie Kavner was one of the people who stuck with him and kept working with him a lot in the 90s, unlike some people mostly didn't. And then it was that weird Woody Allen resurgence in the aughts, and like in the early, I think it was like Match Point brought him back. Like it started this Europe phase, and he could just start being nominated for stuff again. And then in the 2010s, it came back around. We're like, wait, what are we doing? Why did we just forgave him? What the fuck's going on here?
Hey, we can see Rifkin's Festival down the street.
Ugh, Rifkin. Also, like, come on.
Oh man. I got a booking request for that, like a sales sheet. Like, hey, this is what we're, putting out this month. Would you like to come in with Rifkin's Festival? And I was like, that is a non-starter. I'm not playing the movie.
No, it's like, also, he makes a movie every year. He has, like, watched one of the 30 ones that are better than Rifkin's Festival that are probably very similar. Like, and
Yep.
What new thing does he possibly have to say at this point? Like,
he hasn't said a new thing in a movie since maybe 1997, so it's not really worth digging in.
That show Difficult People had such a great Woody Allen joke about the character Julie Klausner. She gets cast in a Woody Allen movie or a Woody Allen Amazon show in the show, and they're just mocking him the whole time. And her character is a cigarette girl, and she's like, "Oh, is this a period thing?" And the producer has to like, "No, Woody Allen still thinks cigarette girls exist. Like this is now." She's like, "Oh, okay," but yeah, I do wonder, it looks like accurate. I had to look this up. I would have said Mandarin, but the name of the alphabet is Hanzi. It does look like accurate Chinese lettering on the door there for it. I don't know if it actually says something in it, but and yeah, the joke too of like, I kind of like jokes about writers complaining that like, oh, frown's way better umbrella than a smile because it's pointed downward. That makes it, but no, the accents, I just can't. I can't with these accents.
As sweaty and like almost like laughing-y as it is, I really thought the Young Me joke was inspired.
Sure. He's like
kind of great.
He's like a Young Me. Who are you kidding? Young Me was a hack compared to this. Like, yeah, that it's if a Chinese actor had delivered that, I might have really laughed at it now. It's but as seemingly as this episode proves, there simply were no Chinese or Chinese American actors that could have been hired in 2001.
Not in Los Angeles.
Not in Los Angeles. Just nowhere to be found. You couldn't find them. If they existed, they would have been in this for sure. Yeah. But anyway, Then Homer is hired to write fortunes. He's writing them at home while also wearing a rice picker hat, which is also very silly and a bit much. I do like Lisa having to take dictation on a Mandarin typewriter. Like, that's kind of funny. It actually reminded me of, like, do you guys remember Google Japan? Their 2010 April Fool's joke was a keyboard of every kanji character, and it was basically like a 700 button keyboard that surrounded the guy. It was pretty funny. That was good.
The Lisa joke here is great when he's like, "Are you getting all this down?" And she's looking at the keyboard like, "I don't know." And it's a really good Yardley Smith delivery of the line.
Yeah, it's the rest of the family is just a party to Homer's adventure in this episode, but the little bits they get are good. I like that Lisa, as usual, Lisa has to dictate for Homer. Homer cannot type things. This is similar to when they were writing restaurant reviews together as well. Homer then makes a prediction about Flag Day,
which is in June. This episode airs in December. Very strange timing. This is a summertime adventure.
And the preceding episode was the Thanksgiving episode, so it's even more silly.
Wow.
Yeah, Homer makes a prediction for Flag Day, which, first, then he makes a prediction that, like, you're being robbed, Apu, which, that's probably going to be useful for Apu.
I thought that would pay off.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that to pay off.
But I do like Lenny being excited with something as vague as "you're a real winner," and he's like, "This fortune really nailed me in my winning ways." That's a great line. And then, just Homer being, like, delighted. It just turns Homer into a comedy writer who's like, "People love my funny jokes. I'm so great."
Homer, I mean, they don't even linger on his job at all after this, but Homer is cheating at this fortune writing game because he's writing fortunes for people. Like, he's targeting them.
It's true. Yeah. I also think that you'll be aroused by a shampoo commercial, Fortune of Homer's. I think that's a reference to all those, like, herbal essence ads back then of all the orgasming women commercials.
Time.
Yeah.
And I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus was doing those.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You could see her come on the TV if you wanted to.
Come on now.
I'm going to work in 3 comes in this episode.
That, though, Bob, that really just kind of, like, kicked something loose in my head. I think you're totally right that she did one of those where everybody's just coming. It's fantastic. I'm coming to the gym when I wash my hair.
I mean, those commercials were women moaning in sexual pleasure while they were washing their hair because they were conflating the word organic with orgasmic, and that was the big wink at the audience.
Right, yeah, which, no, it's just, it's it's shampoo that smells kind of fruitier. That's all. But yeah, it's, hey, sex sells, baby. I think, it's still around, that herbal essence even. I remember they even did a commercial where a guy used it and was making the same noises and just saying, it was their way of saying, like, it's not just for women, guys, like, you can get it yourself. But
those commercials worked on me, man. For a long time, I had the Garnier Fructis herbal essence, the blue one. It was like a coconut thing. Was a massive fan for many years. That was my go-to.
I usually go with the Head and Shoulders hair stuff, but I like fruit scented body wash. That's usually more my jam there. But
nice.
But yes,
I'm a Pantene Pro V kind of guy.
So then this leads to a first act twist so big that it deserves also playing the jingle.
I bet you didn't see that coming.
I forgot about that jingle.
Yes, yeah, it has. Well, it hasn't happened in a while, but this one, somehow Homer doing Chinese fortune cookies leads to Burns buying Chinese food and then having a new adventure of his own. Like, this is such a hard turn that has almost nothing to do with Homer at all. This episode could begin with Burns eating Chinese food. Like, that's where the episode could begin. But yes, Burns gets Chinese food in our next clip.
$14 and 10, 11, 12 cents. There you go.
You know, sir, tipping is customary.
Oh, me sorry, me no speaky Chinese. Oh, General Gao, you're a bloodthirsty foe, but your chicken is delectable. Oh, this cookie feels heavy, as if there's some paper inside.
Nice job, sir.
That was my thumb. Yeah, there seems to be some sort of communique.
It's your fortune, sir.
Capital. You will find true love on Flag Day. Why, it's Flag Day today. True love at last.
Well, Just you and me here, sir.
No time for jokes, Smithers. Come along. We're going womanizing.
Oh, goody.
You know what? Oh, goody was potential Smithers' catchphrase because that's what he says when Burns tells him they'll be buried alive together.
You're right. Yeah. That's good.
But they never made it his thing.
They should have. Yeah. Smithers misses. He doesn't have catchphrases. He needs it. Him breaking his own thumb while trying to open it. That's great. Only for the joke, the only Chinese person they don't give an extreme accent in this episode to is because the joke only works if he doesn't have an accent. So they just had Carl Wiedergott do the voice, and then that leads to Burns being very racist towards him, which, hey, I do think a rich guy who orders Chinese food would be very racist to the service worker. I think that is accurate, at least. That's true.
And they gave Smithers chopsticks and Burns has a fork, so you can tell.
Smithers is more cultured.
I also love the fact that they're kind of insinuating this may be his first time eating Chinese food. Is he so surprised about the communique and the cookie? It's like, this is your first time? Your first rodeo here, Burns?
And it sounds like he actually battled General Gao. And he's like, oh, I remember battling this guy, but, his chicken's good. Which, and on the commentary, we get the answer that, like, another reason they used Carl Wiedergott or gave him, like, spare part here or there was because at the time he was, like, their fill-in guy at table reads. Like, he would come to the table reads to read the parts of actors, I would guess, mostly Harry Shearer, who wasn't there. I think I could see them just giving him these one-off lines that don't really matter. They just are like, hey, thanks for showing up for the table reads. We'll give you a line on the show, But it's fun. Him just, being very flat. It works for the joke. But yeah, I don't like hearing Burns say Chinese. That's not a great line.
All the other Burns stuff, though, he doesn't get to be evil outside of not tipping because he has to fall in love and change his demeanor entirely.
Yes.
But I love just seeing him again.
And him telling Smithers they're going to go out womanizing, and that, as usual, Burns does not read Smithers at all. Smithers is like, hey, it's time to finally make my move. It's Flag Day. He's like, quit it. Be serious, Smithers. And so we head off to a fancy party that is fitting for, like, a TV sketch show. Like, it's such a perfect fancy party full of, like, we talk about how little he used Burns. He used this wealthy dowager so much. Like, she appeared so many times in the Scully years saying, I never. I love her saying, like, I've gone 5 minutes without saying, well, I never. And then Burns replies with his own catchphrase, excellent. That's so great.
And I do enjoy, this is the second time we've seen that Uncle Pennybags is real in this universe.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much because it's just like, it's kind of interesting thinking like it's sort of in the same realm as like the dragon being a real creature joke, like just that fantastical, because he's not drawn like a Simpsons character. He's drawn like, Uncle Pennybags. It just looks like, so if it's a Simpsons person looking at that, that's like an alien creature there,
He was at that money-making seminar.
That's right,
and he says like, these yokels are pure Baltic Avenue.
Yes, that's right, because Burns is complaining like, I've had enough of this fat cat bashing. Yeah. And that one he drives off in like the silver car piece, but I like this better than him driving off in the railroad engine from like the railroad pieces.
It makes less sense.
Yeah. And I love that. Again, this is such a silly idea that like Burns at first wants to date a woman his own age as if it's not entirely a thing that the very rich people of the world who are like Mr. Burns don't date people who are in their 20s and 30s. Like they would not date a wealthy dowager. Like there's many guys who are Mr. Burns, but Sumner Redstone 100% was a Mr. Burns, and he did not date women over the age of 30. I don't think. No.
Maybe they're going for the whole. I think this was happening at the time. Anna Nicole Smith and her. Let's call him a geezer.
Oh yeah,
she was dating a geezer. Maybe they're partially inspired by that.
I bet you're right. You're right. Yeah.
What happened? Did she fuck that guy to death, or?
Well, he definitely died, and she was. Yeah. Then she was supposed to get the inheritance, and the other kids, his kids, took her to court, and I believe she lost. She did not get the inheritance, and so if she had gotten the inheritance, she probably wouldn't have done those reality shows. And
she'd probably still be alive today. Actually, that's like I think you're right. It's like a total like straight line between not getting that money going to, what was it, on E, that reality show, and then unfortunately ODing.
I remember
sad life.
that Saturday TV Funhouse where they made it her as Smurfette, and it was like Smurfette was living that life of the Anna Nicole show, and the characters in the show would just go like, can we just get her help? Like this, like let's stop filming. Like let's stop. And I was like, no, this really was true. We all should have stopped filming that and just gotten her some help. But yeah, I think this is a little bit of the Anna Nicole stuff in here. Well, like, and had they actually gone into girls place, Burns might have gotten himself an Anna Nicole, but yeah, so they head into a place which says girls on the front, and Burns thinks they might have some luck here in our next clip.
Ooh, damn that penny bags. Between him and Scrooge McDuck, all the best ankle is taken. Perhaps there's some girls in here. Great heavens! It's one of those nude female fire stations. Oh, I'd always be second place to some kitten stuck in a tree. Let's go, Smithers. Smithers?
That could be an outdated stereotype about gay men. That they're terrified of women.
Well, hey, look, he's not just terrified of women. These are like jiggling women thrusting themselves in his direction.
They're doing their jobs.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, they're doing. He should just be more respectful. Like, thank you, ladies, but no thanks. I'm good. Like, but yeah, I think that's the most memed scene of the whole episode. Like, maybe in my gay circles, I'm seeing it more than you guys. I don't know if you've seen it, but I have seen that used on Twitter when people are being too horny on Maine, and somebody will reply with like, please, no more of this. I don't want to see your naked ladies in my feed anymore.
Oh, weird. I have not noticed that. I'll have to keep my eyes peeled, though. I don't think I've followed too many horny people on Twitter.
I see that not to imply horniness, but like the women represent things that are like tormenting you.
Sure.
And like Smithers will be labeled me, and the women will be like war against Ukraine and like pandemic or whatever. I don't know.
Sure. Oh, I've seen it used for that too. But yeah, I guess in my gay spaces, I've seen it used by gay guys who are like, say, for example, we talked about Smash Brothers. When Smash Brothers announces a new character for its newest game, and it's like a sexy anime babe, then if you're a video gaming guy, you'll see all this fan art of new sexy babes from Smash, and then somebody will share a picture of of Smithers going like, "This is me in the Smash community today." I even saw a Smash fan redraw it as Sakurai, the executive producer of the Smash games. Sakurai is Smithers, and he's surrounded by these two buxom women who just got added to the game, who's just like, no, please. But we've said it before, you don't need to ask twice to get animators to draw sexy ladies.
No, they're very detailed.
Yes, yeah. I have never seen these kind of like bodily gyrations in a Simpsons cartoon before. It's crazy, especially the women surrounding Smithers.
This is, for Burns, it's almost like a Mr. Magoo joke. Like, oh, it's a nude female fire station.
That's great. Yeah,
he's like one step away from dancing with a coat rack.
He sees the pole dancing.
Do you think all the detail, like with the ladies' animation or whatever, like that's why it was a holdover from season 12? They were like, we can't finish it. We're still working on the butts.
They needed a whole summer.
Season 13.
One more retake on this, please. Like, just we can get this G string even smaller on them. The censor will let us do it. Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's, again, this is why I say, like, there's technically more sex focused. Like, I'd say the Simpson and Son episode is maybe a heartier episode because everybody in town is having sex, but this is like they drew the sexiest ladies in this episode of Simpsons, I think. They head out of there. They decide that, it's the worst Flag Day ever as Mo is putting away his flag as he's humming. That's so great. Just in the background, it's like, well, Flag Day's over. Time to put away that American flag, which that's not what people were doing in December 2001.
Absolutely not.
Nobody was putting away those flags.
I was going to say, wow. We were beyond the pale with that, man. It's a 365. You hang that fucker out. I think the funny thing, Bob, you were talking about like it's a December episode and Flag Day's in June. And honestly, like if you were like, hey Andrew, what are you doing for Flag Day this December? I would have been like, I don't know. What are you doing for Flag Day in December? I have no fucking clue when Flag Day is.
If it's not a day off,
Flags and the whole notion of a flag, that's just something I never. Flags, country flags. Don't step on the flag.
Every day is Flag Day after.
Day?
After starting on September 12th, 2001. Every day is Flag Day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Until we die.
When I looked up Flag Day's actual date, and it's like the middle of June, I thought, how dare they have Flag Day be 6 months away from July 4th? When it's 3 weeks before July 4th, it's like, is this just to get me ready to celebrate flags? Like, this is your practice for July 4th. You really better get your flag game ready by then. Like, it's like the tryout of like, hey, it's just like how Thanksgiving, time to put up your Christmas decorations now. Flag Day, I guess, is when you're supposed to start putting up your July 4th decorations. But yes, this then leads to a real movie meet cute kind of thing here with Burns and Gloria, which let's hear from her before we talk all about this really great guest star.
Now see here, Flatfoot. My goodness. You're beautiful.
Oh, thanks, but I still gotta give you the ticket.
Oh, of course you do. You can lift my wiper any day. Is it still Flag Day?
For 12 more seconds, sir.
Miss, would you submit to a wooing by a gentleman caller?
Oh, I'm sorry, but you're really not my... Well, okay.
Oh, frabjous day! She said yes!
He'll pick you up at 7. Wear a petticoat.
Petticoat?
Here's a place at Ransom.
So Julia Louis-Dreyfus, right now in 2001, post Seinfeld, people are trying to figure out what to do with her. She's doing some guest roles in places, things like Curb Your Enthusiasm. She was in A Bug's Life right after Seinfeld ended, and right after this, in spring of 2002, she would be on a 2-season sitcom. No, it's not The New Adventures of Old Christine. It's Watching Ellie. That was her 2002 sitcom, and when I saw who was in it, I was like, how was this not a hit? The male counterpart to Julia Louis-Dreyfus is Steve Carell.
Oh, wow, man. I've never heard of this show.
The thing with that Watching Ellie that I feel like why it didn't catch on was just the gimmick of what it was, which was, and correct me if I'm wrong remembering this, but I believe the conceit was like every episode ran in real time. And even to the point where, God, am I remembering this right? There was like a clock in the corner sometimes, and you're just like literally watching it. So like a thing where your conceit is every episode is in real time, that's a hurdle for storytelling.
You are correct, Andrew. That is the premise of the show. Yeah.
That show and 24 debut in the same fall. That's crazy.
And yes, a clock was shown on the screen in real time.
That's weird.
And also remember, this is like a real time for shows with gerunds in the title, because there was also Judging Amy. So you had Watching Ellie, Judging Amy. What do I want to do tonight? But yeah, after that, in 2005, she would be on The New Adventures of Old Christine, which I've never seen, which is a traditional sitcom. A mild hit at 5 seasons, but after that, Veep, which I hear is amazing. Although I'm afraid to watch it now because I feel like politics has gotten so insane it has always outlapped satire just a few years after it happened. So I'm afraid to watch it.
Well, I mean, rightfully so, Bob. And the thing about that show specifically, which I did watch, and I thought it was totally brilliant, but towards the end of it, I mean, they were racing to not be undone by history, or outdone by history, rather. And I think if you just watched it now, it would just be a 7-season douche chill, because it's like it's just our reality, right?
Yeah.
And so, I feel like we need to give it. I'm going to give that show like a good 10 years off the air and then maybe revisit, because the writing is fabulous and the performances are really strong and great. And hearing her cursing with Armando Iannucci-esque dialogue is just a thing of beauty. Julia Louis-Dreyfus curses with the best of them, but boy, I don't want to be anywhere near that material right now.
She's great. I was trying to see like, and this, she is really good with kind of a not too greatly written role, but she's just awesome. I wondered how much voice work she did, and yeah, like Bob said, the Bug's Life, and then she did this, and also like a one-off appearance in Hey Arnold. But after this, she didn't do a ton of voice acting until she was the mother in Onward, the Pixar film that came out right before everything shut down in America. It was the last movie I saw in theaters.
Was that the Chris Pratt voiced
yes, yeah.
movie?
She was the mother of Chris Pratt and
yeah,
Tom Holland in it, yeah. I mean, she's playing the typical, mom voice, like a cartoon movie mom, like who's worried about her kids. But she should do more stuff because she's great at it. But now she's unfortunately been subsumed into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Really?
I don't know if you know. Oh, you don't know this?
Did they get her too?
They did. Somebody hasn't watched Black Widow.
Oh, great.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I didn't understand that stinger scene, Henry. I'll be totally honest. I saw that in theaters. I hung around to the end and was like, all right, don't know what that means.
Well,
but then I watched Hawkeye and it kind of like filled things in a little bit, maybe.
Basically, she's the new Nick Fury, except she's going to be working with people who are a little too rough for the Avengers. That's kind of her thing.
You know what? If everything is coming back, just bring back Seinfeld. It's fine. I mean, if the Jurassic Park people are coming back now, there's no bottom.
You know, that's the thing. Seinfeld and Larry David, they're too rich. They don't have to do it. You know, like they really. It was almost like too real for me to laugh at, and too victory lappy. But when they did, I believe it was the 45th anniversary SNL special. They're in the audience and they're joking about how like, oh yeah, we were the last guys who get to like make $1 billion off of TV back then. Nobody gets to be as rich as us anymore. Pretty sweet, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, like it's just them agreeing that it's really awesome to be as rich as they are.
I do want to comment on this character. So number one, great performance, but number two, a badly written character. And I think they have the same problem they had when they wrote Helen Hunt onto the show. When they have a beautiful, funny woman, they're like, well, let's not make her too wacky. And another problem they have is, we notice this with writing, when men don't know how to write women, they forget to name them. So we don't actually hear her name until the end of the second act.
Right.
Which is a big problem. She should say, I'm Gloria, nice to meet you. Or Burns should read her that on her badge or something. We don't hear her name until Burns proposes.
Yep. Boy, you're right. That didn't hit me because Snake says it so much in the third act and I think that's just because they like hearing Snake say Gloria. But you're right. They don't say her fucking name. You introduce a character by getting to know what their name is. Like, that's insane.
And there's no hook to this character outside the fact that she's attracted to the wrong kind of men. But other than that, she just kind of sets up jokes for other people, which I think is a misuse of Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, sure.
Also, unless I'm misremembering and just forgetting like something later in the episode, and it would be kind of important to the character, don't they just kind of forget that she's also a cop?
Absolutely. And in fact, on the commentary, they say her original job was going to be a food truck driver. So that doesn't matter either, because her being a cop has nothing to do. You think that would play into her being in love with a criminal.
Yes.
But it is never even mentioned in that scene. Like, maybe Snake and Gloria met when she arrested him or something. That could have been like a thread they could have followed.
I know. It's insane. Totally. Or like Wiggum should know who she is when she's kidnapped. Like, there's not even interaction between her and Wiggum. Like, yeah, her being a cop is meaningless, which is like, then just have her be a food truck person. But though that's also funny hearing them on the commentary, they still call they refer to a food truck as a roach coach, which I'm like, whoa.
I had never heard that before.
Yeah, that was before food trucks became a respectable thing that they are now.
There is in this scene a great visual gag of when Burns is complaining about, oh, that constable's ticketing my car. Like, he's so shocked, and they cut, and the car is just in the middle of the street. God, damn, that's great.
That's good. Yeah, I also like the bit, or on the commentary, there's a funny bit too of like Tom Gamble, one of the writers on Simpsons, who wrote on Seinfeld and is known Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I think, since she was on SNL in the 80s. He jokes about how she's married to her old SNL co-star, Brad is his name, and they mentions, Tom Gamble says every time he sees him at a party, he goes like, well, the best man won, as in they were both competing over Julia Louis-Dreyfus, even though there was no competition. She was only dating this guy, not Tom Gamble.
Hey, that's Brad Hall, creator of Watching Ellie.
Of course.
Oh, look at that.
Whenever in the rare times Julia Louis-Dreyfus appeared on Curb Your Enthusiasm playing herself, Brad Hall would be on it with her. I was like, oh yeah, that guy should just be in stuff. He was a comedy actor. I mean, I guess, hey, be a successful house husband of a very, very rich and successful wife, enjoy it.
Not to linger too long on the Seinfeld thing, but she definitely escaped the quote-unquote Seinfeld curse, which is what happens to anyone when you're associated with a character. Like Jason Alexander and Michael Richards, they're rich beyond belief. They never need to work again, but they struggled. Like Jason Alexander had 2 more sitcoms. I think so did Michael Richards. But
and other struggles after that.
Yes, that he is very sorry for. Yes. And Jerry Seinfeld doesn't need to ever do anything again, but the creative things he's made were like The Marriage Ref, B-Movie, and now he's making a movie about the creation of Pop-Tarts.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Larry David should step
that is
in.
Breaking news for me right now. Holy crap. What is that? A Pop-Tart biopic?
It's like a biopic of the creator of Pop-Tarts or something?
Yes, yeah. It's
wow.
When that news broke, I saw people pointing out well, this pretty much seals it that Larry David was the creative one of the two. Like, if you're going to say who's the better. That Pop-Tart thing. Well, I mean, too, is like his, the coffee and cars with comedians. Like,
I don't consider that a show.
Yes, it's just showing off his car collection. Like, he's one.
And then being very weird to service people.
Yes, yeah, it's very, very strange. Well, and same with the Marriage Ref is just born out of I had a bad argument with my wife, and I wish somebody was there to tell her she's wrong. I need a marriage ref here.
I wondered how much of that show was him versus Tom Papa, because Tom Papa was he was the host of it, creative credit, I think, too, and it's sort of how do we get people to watch this? Jerry, do you want to put your name on this and kind of come hang out?
Tom Papa is just,
episodes?
To me, Tom Papa is store brand Jim Gaffigan. You want the real thing. And yes, I did write off his entire career. I'm sorry.
In Seinfeld and the Marriage Ref too, I remember that at the time, Seinfeld was one of the few guys siding with Leno over Conan in that, and he was just like, hey man, Conan, the ratings aren't there, you gotta stick with it. And people were pointing out the Marriage Ref is a big success that is not just being propped up by NBC, Jerry. It's just a meritocracy for again, it's the Marriage Ref was doing way worse than Conan's Tonight Show, but now they're all very rich, so who cares? But Julie Lee.
It's funny you said the thing about. Oh no, I don't want to keep us on Seinfeld anymore.
No, okay. But yes, I also like Smithers. Smithers just knows if you're going on a date with Burns, you have to wear a petticoat. He expects that. That's what a woman does. We know the person who rents it. Here's the note. That's good. That prepares women for those dates.
And the director pointed out on the commentary that they had to basically change Burns' character design because he has the sloping angry brow that creates the angry eyes. But when he's in love, they have to get rid of that.
Right, yeah.
To make him look happier.
No more scowl or glower. None of his glower powers there for it. Now, I really like the animation of him dancing off excitedly. It's very not Burns, but it's well done animation. They mentioned this on.
There's a couple of good animation bits of him dancing. Yeah, I think there's one later where he's dancing like a Peanuts character.
Yeah,
he's going home to alert Tarantula Town and President Clinton that he's in love again. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, so I guess that's another thing of once a show's been on this long, you just compare it to other episodes that are this, like you said, this is very similar to Mo dates Helen Hunt episode in fact that even he meets her at night after giving up on a bunch of failed dates, very similar to how Mo met her as well. And this also is we've seen Burns fall in love too, except with Marge's mother in a better episode, Lady Bouvier's lover.
Also Marge, and Marge gets the job.
Oh, also that.
That's where the whoop-de-doo thing came from,
right.
I thought.
Yeah. You're correct, and it's and then they mentioned on the commentary too that they often feel it is forced that they have to cut back to the family, going well, I'm glad Burns has fallen in love. It's you forget that this is The Simpsons if you don't cut to them, but it's really kind of useless just having them say oh, Burns has a date, how good. But Marge forcing things together, that's kind of funny, but also they did it better in the Fear of Flying episode when she's going to have the cat and dog get married because they've been living in sin.
Pairing Maggie with a cactus is a health risk, but I like that she knocks it over.
Yeah, you shouldn't put a baby next to a cactus. It also feels like a slight take that Lisa's beliefs when Lisa says some people enjoy being alone, and Marge has to be like, no. And so Burns is on a date. He's wearing the same casual wear Squire we saw in The Old Man and the Lisa. We find out that he knew Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge has been dead since 1933, just to give you a sign of how old Burns is. Though I got to think, like, really, has Burns never dated anyone with natural hair and teeth before? Like, he only dates elderly people?
He only remembers those dates.
Oh, all right. Okay. You've got me there.
We go. Totally. But I mean, otherwise he's just like a weird granny shagger when he was you do you, Mr. Burns.
Well, that's also, this happens later, but I'm with Snake. I think it's gross that she would have sex with Mr. Burns. Like, you should be like you. It's not right to make judgments all the time on people's, dating tastes and everything. But seriously, fuck a 70-year-old man, not a 104-year-old one. Jesus
I like that once again, his actual age is stated, just to let you know.
That's great. I'm really glad he
has like 70 years on Gloria.
A lot of the Scully era ones don't say the official number, but this one, like, no, it feels like they looked it up in the character index. Like, no, Burns is 104. We've been saying it for like 5 seasons now. He's 104. But yes, Burns is on a date.
You're a nice guy, Monty. You're always laughing and denting your fingers. I like that.
Excellent.
And you're so upbeat. You think everything's excellent. I really feel safe with you. It's like going out with my brother.
Yes, it's going great.
So, what are you into?
Into?
Yeah, like, what's a fun day for a 104-year-old?
Oh, I enjoy all the popular youth trends like piloting motor coaches and collecting dog waste.
And then he winks at her. So he's looking around at things to get ideas, and one of them is a guy picking up dog shit.
Oh, that's great. You don't normally see dog shit on a Simpsons episode, but you see it for like 5 frames here to pick it up. But I love Burns saying, like, it's going great. Like, that gave me a good chuckle. It did.
And by the way, this is Bob Mackey's NRBQ watch. I got an alert for all of you out there. So Mike Scully, as we know, NRBQ is his favorite band. He works them into as many episodes as he can. There are 2 appearances in this episode. One is about 1 second of music we hear when Gloria is dropping off Mr. Burns, and it's the song Everybody Thinks I'm Crazy from their 1994 album Message for the Mess Age. We'll hear them again in a montage later, but yeah, Mike Scully's making sure his friends get paid.
I can't 1 second of that song, and like, why not it just be the song that's going to be in the montage later? Why must he give NRBQ another I feel like there had to be some kickback scheme here going with NRBQ.
He wants to get these guys paid, and you know what? This is not on the Simpsons Wiki. We're finding this out for the first time.
Yeah.
This is not listed in the list of NRBQ songs. We found some other ones too. I think there's like 11 times he's used this band in his 4 seasons.
Yeah, Bob, you are the chief investigative journalist on this NRBQ thing.
I'm going to find the link.
I never, because even on the soundtrack, there's specific websites for like, here's every song that's in this episode of a TV show. And they list the obvious one that's on the montage, but this 1 second of a song that obviously nobody other than Mike Scully is heard of by NRBQ, nobody recognizes it and lists it on the thing. Like, you have to just hear the lyric and then assume it's NRBQ and then search NRBQ. Everybody Thinks I'm Crazy. Oh, that is a song they did. Mm-hmm. There it is. Unless they are charging him like $5,000 a song or something, I just don't understand why they're used this much, other than just Mike Scully loves these guys. But I do at least like that you see Gloria's reasoning is, oh, she misreads everything about Burns and thinks him tending his fingers and saying excellent is being endlessly positive. Like that.
Gloria has to be really stupid, and I wish they would have made her clearly a sicko. Like, she's into all this weird stuff, and maybe that turns Burns off or something. There needs to be more to her, and it's weird that she comes back when she's such a nothing character.
As the show goes on, I feel it's like, oh, let's kind of keep them in the rotation in case there's 10 years from now, a Gloria episode or something like that. Just that notion of now we're doing Burns, episodes more, but there weren't Burns-centric episodes earlier as much, so you got to keep that roster, stuffed, and who knows when someone's going to need a Gloria-centric episode.
I think in season 19 and 20 when they brought her back, I think it really is they decided Snake needed a nagging wife. They're like, you know what? Snake's not. We're entering nagging wife zone of Simpsons here, which is not everybody's favorite zone
Not
of
really.
Simpsons era. Yeah, so like, I mean, there's it in the third act, but it's just this feeling of like, my wife wants too much. Why does she want me to go out all the time? I wish she'd shut up. I do like Burns naming old things you would do on a date, like grousing, which I believe is hunting grouse specifically, and her singing while playing the clavichord. That's great. Which, that reminded me of like Andrew. Have you seen The Power of the Dog yet?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I love like the old timey feel of it, that they're just like, well, yeah, we bought the equivalent of a Wii Sports here. We bought a piano, and you're going to play the piano and entertain for the governor. Like, the governor's here, sing and play the piano.
Totally. Someone has traveled miles to hear you play a piano as the entertainment before dinner or after. Yeah, absolutely. And it was like anticipated too, like, holy shit, she's going to do what?
Come on, play the piano. Like, yeah, that it's not.
It's like you're about to show somebody a YouTube video that's really cool.
I love that. I love that Power of the Dog captures that of like, well, they don't have record players yet. What the fuck are they going to do? Like, we bought a piano and you're the wife. Play and sing. Come on, the governor's waiting. Get to it.
Totally. And it's like, when she, it's not a particular spoiler, but like when she can't bring herself to play, then it's like, well, the entertainment's done, so I guess now the night is completely over and we're just gonna go home now.
Yeah, well, it's a 7-hour drive back, so we're just gonna head out here. So see you later. Oh, well, yeah, that's that movie. If you want to see somebody playing the piano and singing, you'll see that in Power of the Dog. But that's a good movie. That's a good.
Well, the power of the dog in this episode is that he enjoys gum.
Oh yes,
and that's his power.
A dog stole gum. That is such a, because obviously there is no reason for Homer to enter this story here, and
I wanted for like when I first saw this, I thought, oh, is the episode going to be like Homer is now just a fortune cookie writer? Like, no, absolutely not. He chases this dog out of that plot.
Yes, yeah, and into Burns' plot for no other reason. He's in Burns' neighborhood than he's chasing a dog that stole his gum. Like, it's so ridiculous that's perfectly unnatural to get Homer into this story, and that Burns then calls him up. There's one of my young chums. Like, yeah, it's
like they also forget with Burns sometimes to get Smithers in on the act, and that's what happened in the Loch Ness episode. It should have been like, that's Homer Simpson, sir. He's one of your blanks from Sector 7G, and it's like, oh, I don't care who he is. He's my new best friend or whatever. At least acknowledge that Smithers knows who this is.
Also, playing to your point, Bob, about them making Gloria so stupid, and like Homer comes up to him and like literally refers to him as Mr. Burns, and it's like, well, if you were truly good friends with this person, why are you addressing him as Mr. Burns?
And you know what? There could have been some comedy of Smithers there could have been more comedy of Smithers trying to be a wingman and failing because he doesn't want Burns to succeed. And also, he's not a rowdy, youthful, straight guy like Homer is portrayed in this episode. But yes, Homer becomes a wingman in a very for its time moment here.
It's not important how old you are on parchment. It's how old you feel in the humors.
I'm sorry, Monty.
Stop that dog! It has my gum!
Look, there's one of my young chums now. You there.
Yes, Mr. Burns?
Tell my young sweetheart here of our youthful exploits. Play along, Chubsy. There's a pie in it for you.
Oh! Yeah! Monty's a wild man. Yeah! Whoa! Oh, he ran his own casino, stole the Loch Ness Monster, got shot by a baby, and blotted out the sun.
Wow, that was you?
So, shall I pick you up at 8?
Well...
Come on, he's a total player.
Okay, stop kicking my door.
Well done, young man. Your youthful trendiness will come in handy throughout the courting process, because these days, where did you get that pie?
Windowsill.
Some good old lady argle bargle.
That's great. Yeah, I love that Burns is about to describe the plot of the episode. Well, you'll be because these days it gets interrupted by Homer eating pie. That's so good. But
so at this point, Homer, his entire Burns helping gig has been paid for in full. There's no reason why Homer should be hanging out with Burns. There's nothing hanging over his head. He's just always helping him now.
Yeah,
that one pie was so delicious.
There's no payment. He's just doing it for free. There's some good stuff in here of I like Homer trying to bro out with Burns, and it just smashes Burns to the ground. He can't take a slug in the arm, and also that Gloria, despite living in Springfield, she needs to be told oh, remember all that crazy stuff that happened here? Well, that was it. And her going wow, that was you. You'd remember he ran and that he had the Loch Ness monster. Also, that Homer says shot by a baby. Not even. I like to think Homer forgot that it was his baby that shot Burns.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like that running gag of him constantly forgetting that Maggie exists anyway in one way or another. So it's sort of played into that, baby.
And also I love Homer kicking her door. It's he's kicking her shin, except he's kicking her door, and it's messing it up. Homer decides he's going to be Burns' wingman, and again in a very single guy sitcom kind of style. And I will say, if your partner uncharacteristically buys new underwear for themselves, you should suspect them of cheating. You know what? Hey, who you getting dressed up for? What's going on here?
Or they listened to podcasts and found an offer code.
That's why they got that new one. Yeah.
How else will I wick away my sweats?
That's true.
It's not going to wick away itself.
And nothing's wicking away my sweat these days. I need to. But doesn't Homer look weird wearing full boxers? He should always be wearing painted on very tight white briefs. Yeah,
it's just a texture on his body.
I do love the way they draw the back to his regular underwear and just crumbling and hanging on by a thread. And that line was another scream laugh for me. If these could stop Joan Collins herself.
Oh yeah,
boy. But these are some dusty jokes. The Joan Collins joke followed by a trip to the disco.
Yes, that's great. I love the datiness. And also, in the Tale of Two Cities episode, they also talked all about Joan Collins that for Homer and all the other guys there, they seem to think Joan Collins is the sexiest or horniest lady around. They say they're giving us the old Joan Collins special. Also, in the Scully years, he really loved Homer's disgusting underwear. In Natural Born Kissers, Homer's underwear is discovered by a dog, and it scars him so much he runs away. They use Homer's giant underwear as a false flag in the Capture the Flag game.
Right. I think in Children of a Lesser Clod, they show the video of Homer drunk under the Christmas tree.
Oh, yes.
And the dog comes up and sniffs his ass and runs away.
Soiled underwear there too. Yes, it's Homer's underwear got increasingly more disgusting in the Scully years. Yeah, not that it was great underwear before, but and so yes, they head to the disco, a very dated disco.
It's Stu's disco.
It's the second appearance of Stu's disco. I kept thinking it's the first one, but it's the second. And that if you want to see that sign in real life, go to Universal Studios Hollywood.
Oh, right.
You can't go inside Stu's disco, but they do recreate the neon sign pretty well there. It's really interesting.
Oh,
and
cool.
The front says closed until disco comes back in style. That's it's really great. Universal Hollywood, they're so close to being the perfect Simpsons ride destination, but little bits like that of you know what, we're this neon sign joke, we can just build that neon sign and have it go on and off in the two positions. And as Al Jean said when they opened that place up, they're it's so crazy to see a joke you came up with in 5 minutes be a giant display that you can just walk by now in a theme park.
People had to build it.
Yes. It was some guys
so weird, because that's it's tough because it's a good sign gag, and I miss the good sign gags, but at the same time, it's that thing that I do struggle with as the show goes on. I love that Disco Stu was just some weirdo that would turn up here and there, at the garage sale or whatever, and to know, he possibly runs this business. I don't give a shit. Stop spelling out, making lies for all these people. Similarly, I was kind of playing around with some later episodes just for fun, because I do check back in every now and again, and, I went to a couple of season 32 episodes, which was truly mind-blowing for a lot of reasons, but just learning things like comic book guys got a wife and a child, and that's what I was sort of touching on earlier, was like, so now we can have comic book guy episodes. Like, who gives a shit? It's just I can't get down for those decisions.
I feel like there has not yet been a Disco Stew focused episode.
Not a full one.
There's been like four. There's been like 3 or 4 comic book guy episodes at this point.
They love comic book guy now, but no, I'm with you, Andrew, that just even giving him like a place of business, like Disco Stew seems like such a fuck up that he could not own a business. Like he wouldn't own a nightclub. Yeah.
He has no bookkeeping skills. There's no way.
But as we go into the club, Burns is dancing like Peanuts' character, which is kind of random. But it's though I like him saying that, like when she says you can really shake it, and he's like, "Oh yes, that's totally voluntary." And man, all the ladies in their nightclub looks, they are sexy. Meanwhile, they draw Mr. Burns like he's Mr. Furley from Three's Company.
He's got a leisure suit and a medallion. It's real easy comedy, but you don't see these jokes anymore.
Yes, yeah. I prefer these jokes with Kirk Van Houten in his leisure suit and medallion.
Ooh, that was a good design for Kirk, absolutely.
But yeah, Burns, he's on the date with Homer at this trendy club. Well, it's going pretty well, actually. All right, I'll just play this clip here because, again, I'm like, where is the turn in Gloria's opinion on Burns here? I just don't really track it.
Drat, I wish that song were longer.
I've got to admit, you can really shake it.
Oh, yes, it's totally voluntary.
So, you guys come here all the time?
Constantly. When we're not being kicked out for our rowdy, youthful behavior. Pally?
Yep. No one's rowdier or more youthful than Old Man Burns.
You mean Young Man Burns?
Put my hand on her knee.
Yes, Mr. Burns.
I said her. And I said knee.
Oh, sorry.
So Homer put Burns' hand on his penis.
I love that. Yeah. That joke could be worth the entire episode because you have to think about it for a second. You're like, wait a minute. Oh, okay, yeah. And like, you can't really. I mean, they give enough indication in the animation what's happening, but yeah, Homer put Burns' hand on his penis.
It is, I think, the best joke of the episode, and it's a weird, like, that was a line that, in my social circle we would just toss out, and seeing it here I was like, oh holy shit, this is where this one is from, because my constant rewatching really stops around like 11, maybe generally 10, but sometimes I'll dabble in 11. And it was just one of those eye-opening, like, that's why we said that so much.
I also love Homer's bad wingman line of like, no one is rowdier or more youthful than Old Man Burns. But then Gloria makes the turn. She's like, she is really like into him. He's like, you mean Young Man Burns? And like rubs up on him like, wait, what happened here? Why is Gloria into him just because of what Homer just said? Like, I don't understand.
Again, they need to make Gloria a sicko, or perhaps like a third act twist could be like she wants to kill Burns and take his money or something.
Exactly.
Something's going, but I mean, like,
that's something.
She needs to be more defined because she's stupid and she is whatever the plot needs her to do, basically.
I don't understand this bit of like, they just make it about Burns' age. He is extremely rich, and a woman, he could find a woman who would want to date an extremely rich person. I think that those women exist, but here it's just, why does she want to have sex with him? I just don't get it. I mean, even if he seems more youthful around Homer, who would have sex with Mr. Burns? I just don't understand it. She must have brain damage or something. I don't understand it. So the episode on the DVD, there's only one deleted scene, and I would have figured the deleted scenes would have been in Act 3 because Lisa and Marge show up for no reason.
Bart shows up to deliver one line.
Yeah,
she's like, I'm here now.
but no, the only deleted scene is actually in the club, and I kind of wish they'd have kept it just because it was current for the time. It's about Jell-O shots. It's a joke about then current Jell-O shots.
Oh.
So basically, they they order Jell-O shots for the table, and Homer's excited about it. And hey, I love Jell-O shot. You know, I love sweet alcohol, Bob. I love it. But
too much work. Just drink alcohol.
But come on, you can bring out a whole tray of them, and you're the life of the party. But so Gloria and Homer shoot him easy. Burns, though, it is a cube of Jell-O, and he puts it in his mouth, and the cube is too pointy for him, and he has to spit it out. He's like, oh, too sharp. I like that joke.
I like any age-based joke for Burns,
yeah. And that Jell-O is too crusty or too sharp for him. I like that bit there. They then have Homer carrying them up to the bedroom. It's a fun little zoom out on them. I do kind of wish they had, Rudolph Valentino. I've heard of him. Like I almost feel like it should be a deeper cut than of like The Man Who's Standing and Walking. That'd be Rory Calhoun. That's somebody I've never heard of who I have to Google. Rudolph Valentino. It's almost just too famous for a Old Man Burns reference.
That's the thing, right? And as these, the show goes on, that was a thing that kind of turned me off from a lot of the, more recent stuff is like it gets more accessible. And I always appreciated, knowing full well that I was watching shit where it was like, I have no clue what that is. And, sure, then the internet came along and you can look stuff up if you want to. But, like, it was just fun not being in on everything, but knowing that that's, like, intentional. And you're totally right. Like, yeah, Valentino, one of the fucking, biggest stars of that time. Like, people will know that name, even if you haven't seen any of his films. And I feel like that's just, like, making the show more accessible in a way that I just did not need to ever become.
I prefer hearing Burns mention the Ritz brothers again, like somebody you've never heard of or whatever. Like, yeah.
I'm too distracted by the fact that like Burns fucks now.
All right, let's talk about this. First off, I like on the commentary they say that they had a lot of fun in the writer's room, saying that when they get to this scene, they would write a scene where Homer takes care of business for Burns in the bedroom as well. But
that would make him too unlikable.
Yeah, but in this case, they basically do a Viagra joke without Viagra, and it makes total sense that Burns would have like some old man pheromone in place of Viagra. I kind of wish Homer would do a joke of like, you could just get a Viagra prescription, Mr. Burns. You don't have to do animal pheromones anymore. But yeah, okay. I mean, Mr. Burns, no matter how much extra stamina he's got, I mean, one, he has a mockable genitalia, but hey, you can make up for that with other things in the bedroom. I'm not saying, but like, no matter how much stamina he's given, like, what can he do really with his limited energy and brittle bones? I mean, like no cowgirl position happening in this bedroom is what I'm saying here, guys.
Well, I'm wondering, Henry, because you sort of inspired a thought in my sick skull that, when they were joking about the notion of Homer helping out in the bedroom, I instantly pictured, I don't know like if there's a official name for it, but I've seen folks talk about it. We've joked about it on We Hate Movies too. The Mormon soaking thing,
yes.
combined with the third party bed jumping.
Yes.
So I'm picturing Homer could just be jumping, to help Mr. Burns move the mattress or something.
Oh my God, man!
I mean, this was the style of the time. We were in the gross out comedy age in 2001, but I don't like the idea of Mr. Burns entering this young woman.
It's truly disturbing.
Well, and again, as we know about his mockable genitalia size, like he's getting 1 inch in there at most. Like,
This episode is disgusting.
Sorry, not to get too gross here. That soaking thing too. I had not. That's the craziest shit.
But my last thing on this.
Google it, listeners.
If you're gonna go this far with Mr. Burns and you're gonna put this in our heads, we need to see like the afterglow of Burns and Gloria. Like, what's going on? What has sex done to Mr. Burns?
Yeah,
we're robbed of that joke. You put it in our heads. You put it in our heads is much worse than what you could have put on the screen.
Yeah, I would rather see them post-coital. Yep. Yeah, so yeah, and then they have a great joke that Homer sees Burns inject himself with stuff, and then Homer picks up a used needle and puts it in his arm, which is so funny that apparently the censor would not allow them to show Homer literally inject himself, so it like cuts right before it would go into his veins.
Oh.
Which I think it's a slightly Family Guy joke that the whole family hears Homer fuck, but the hard cut to Homer like drooling and running Marge up the staircase together, and that they had a very intense lovemaking session after that. Like
even the widowed Flanders heard it.
Ned's
that
wow.
is a great wow.
Yeah. Wow. Like, yeah, that Homer really took it to the hoop that night.
Maude is not there to help him fish Homer's pants out of the tree.
That's true, yes. Yeah. I wonder, you know what, if we could ask Marge, like, okay, Marge, which was a better night, when you had the grandpa's tonic sex or the pocket fox aphrodisiac sex? Which was a better laying pipe session, Marge? I wonder.
I feel like the Grandpa Tonic was like, it was a powerful session, but there was also like a lot of love and care given. This Fox pheromone thing, it is just straight fucking no talking, all business. You know, the word strap yourself in and feel the G's.
Feel the G's.
The word railed comes to mind.
All right.
We're having a lot of fun today.
I don't like the idea of I don't like that Bart and Lisa heard Marge and Homer have loud sex. That disturbs me. I don't
Let's cut to Maggie with pacifiers in her ears.
Sure, yeah. Yes.
Well, Henry, if you experience that, it is quite a fucking horrifying thing to live through. I'll leave it at that.
I lived in an apartment complex with thin walls, and I did have to hear it on like 3 occasions. I did not like hearing neighbors have sex, especially when I was in a bit of a dry spell. It made it even less wanted to hear.
Well, Mom and Dad are moving furniture again. What's going on up there?
So yes, we then cut to the afterglow we see of Burns is that he's just happy at the plant the next day, and Carl says, "Watch me take advantage of his good mood," and he gets fired instantly.
Clean out your desk, you're gone.
Yeah, well, I had a good run,
and then more NRBQ.
Motherfucking NRBQ.
It's the song If I Don't Have You from their 1988 album, You Gotta Be Loose.
Ugh.
You can put together a greatest hits compilation based on what's on The Simpsons.
I know.
Of their catalog.
It's like Mike Scully made you a mixtape via his 4 years of running The Simpsons. I believe it's the last one. I don't think in Blunder Years, I don't think there's an NRBQ song, so I think this might be our farewell to the band NRBQ at long last. I think there's some really good animation in this, especially like what a great reveal that you see Burns and Gloria in the Lady and the Tramp shot, and then the face turn on Burns to reveal the straw taped to his face, so that apparently Burns is so aged he couldn't even eat spaghetti, like that would kill him, and so Homer is eating it for him. And
Gloria has to overlook
old people, no solid foods, you know.
Gloria has to overlook a lot to fall in love with Burns. Like, why is there a tube taped to your face, honey?
And again, like, well, I mean, how could it be fun to have sex with him? Why would you want to do that more than once? I don't understand. Gloria is just in a normal relationship with him where they have sex regularly.
And this guy, maybe she wants to get Homer in on it, and he's not taking the hint.
Maybe she keeps saying like, Burns, could you just ask Homer to join us? And Burns just doesn't get it. I can see that go. He doesn't know what the term into means. He wouldn't know what a menage a trois means as well, which we all learned from the Seinfeld episode, as we all learned. But
that's right.
But yes, I also like during this montage, Burns dies during it. I do like that. Like
Yes.
Homer notices he's dead and he has to shock him back to life, which that's why later when he says, "I could be dead again soon," that happened in the montage. He's like, "Yeah, I was dead 2 minutes earlier in this episode, so I could die again."
I forgot about that.
And you know, guys, Mike Scully, he wrote the Pin Pals episode, so of course he's taking it back to the bowling alley. He loves that bowling alley.
And Burns loves bowling, as we learned.
You can't skip that one of these times. But yes, they as they're going bowling, Burns makes his move.
You're going to ask her to marry you?
Isn't it wonderful? I'm head over heels in love.
Are you sure you want to do this so fast?
Yes, my biological clock is ticking. I could be dead again soon. Wait, my dear. I think you'll find that red ball more engaging.
Monty, it's beautiful.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Gloria, say you'll marry me.
Oh, Montgomery, of course I'll marry you.
Oh, spectacular! Now we must celebrate. I'll get some champagnola. This is the happiest day of my life. Nothing could spoil it. Absolutely nothing.
Dum-de-dum-dum-dum. Okay. Gun, check. $sign bag, check. Power bar, check. All right, let's rob this bowling alley? Okay, whatever.
That was something that was off of his checklist.
Yeah.
Well, what to rob? Also, Gloria, we hear her name for the first time 14 minutes in.
It's so funny. Also, I don't know, like, what is what's her Dreyfus's direction when she says, "Of course I'll marry you"? Like, is she trying to sound like Burns? Like, I don't understand that delivery. Like, I guess it's supposed to be infatuated, but I know she could do a more natural delivery. So I guess earlier she said excellent, like Burns says excellent. So maybe it's just she's taking on his affectations, but it's just hearing it isolated there for a second. I was like, wait, why does she say it like that?
It sounds like mocking, but the character means it.
Yeah, she does want to marry him.
It's kind of weird because hearing all of these lines of hers in isolation, because I was kind of thinking it last night, and then I was like, no, you're wrong. But listening to them now, I don't know if there was something she was going for this whole time. I mean, it just doesn't sound like her, and I don't know if that's just like some post kind of cleaning it up and maybe, sort of just modulating a little bit or something. But this, hearing it back, like, it just doesn't sound like her, and I'm trying to figure out what it is, and I'm sort of stumped by it.
It feels like they kept the funniest take regardless of the intentionality of it, which is why she's all over the place, both in the writing and the performance, in terms of like, who is this person? What's wrong with her?
Right.
I didn't get it in there, but the way Burns says, backing him up, my dear, we have to expel some urine. That's a good little gag. And also that Homer wants some ice cream. He's already finished his pizza. So again, Burns is just paying Homer with free food. Like, that's all he does. And yeah, it is a very third act thing of Snake showing up, but they say that was in like their original script. Like, it's not them throwing out a third act as they did so many times in the Scully thing and then in the rewrite adding Snake or whatever. But I think also in this era though, Scully preferred Snake to Burns. Like, Snake shows up in much more often than you would think in the Scully years. Like, this isn't even the first time Homer and him have like nearly died in battle, like in the Scully years. It's actually like the third or fourth time if you count a Treehouse episode.
Snake is more proactive.
Exactly. Yeah, just like Poochie, he's getting things done, man. He almost snaps Homer's neck, like and kills him in the battle over the car. Snake is on a new level of violence. Like, Snake always like robs places, but this Snake is like, yeah, I kill people. I have bodies on me, Snake. I'm not just somebody who beats people up a little bit. I'm a murderer. It's a new like when he says, I stabbed a guard. I was like, wow, that's a new level for Snake there.
Yeah.
But making this feel very late 90s, now it becomes an episode about why do girls always like the bad boys? Like,
we're all Mr. Burns in this moment.
Yes, yeah. But yes, Gloria and Homer get kidnapped by Snake in this next clip.
You're looking good, baby. Why did we ever break up?
You pushed me out of a moving car?
The cops were chasing us. I needed to lighten the load. And, protect you. Ha. Come on, baby. We can talk more at my hideout.
No, I'm engaged now. My ring?
Let go of her, or I'll scream.
Kaloo Kalay, we're in luck. They had a magnum at the shoe counter. Now Gloria? Her ring. Well, she's run off. With Simpson.
a non-wacky act break, I guess.
It's actually a dramatic act break. I think I kept that in there too. I was like, oh wait, it's just dramatic. But
this Barney's Bowl-O-Rama carries a magnum of champagne under the shoe counter.
That. Like, yeah, which
I guess if someone bowls a 300, you want enough to give everyone champagne.
Man,
oh, totally.
A magnum, that's a liter and a half. That is a double-sized champagne, right?
I read that it can serve 12.
Wow, man. I mean, Homer will make quick work of that, really, I think.
Yeah, it serves 12 drinking politely.
Also, it's a real kind of olive oil situation there of Snake kidnapping her. You're like, no.
Homer screams more like olive oil.
That's true, yeah. Dan really earned his... I hope he got some screaming bonuses for this episode because he has to shriek quite a lot here. I like that the third act opens with the establishing shot of the Simpsons home because you think you're going to see that, and actually it's Homer drives by it and then it can't stop.
I just wanted to escape.
Yeah, I love it. Jeez, I just want to escape, man. And I love the way she says, no, my boyfriend's Mr. Burns. Homer just comes along at our dates and carries us up to the bedroom.
It's acknowledging how poorly written this character is. It's just like, yeah, why is she going along with any of this?
What normal woman is party to this? Yeah,
this gross man carries me and my elderly husband into the room where he injects himself with a potion
every night to have normal sex. That Snake is grossed out by it, like as he should be. Like Snake should be disgusted. I hate to put judgment on this, but if any friend of mine or former partner was having sex with a Mr. Burns type, I would be like, ew. I would say, ew. What are you doing? What happened? What's wrong? Do you need help? I'll help you. Like, let's talk to somebody. Stop having sex with Mr. Burns.
Very wild to have Snake be the voice of reason in an episode.
Yes.
We'll buy you some younger sex.
Yes. Look, I'll pay for it, It just not and then, it's a very... For Homer to misread Pistol Whip as, like, eating Cool Whip out of the jar, like, it almost feels like them trying to, like, intentionally call back to season 4, but I think it's really the pink background makes it perfect to me. And also, of course, Homer sticking a mouth gun end first, like, muzzle end first in his mouth is funny.
It's just Cool Whip you eat with a gun.
Yes.
And by the way, he is pistol whipped a bunch later.
Yes, yeah. It's so...
Was season 4, you mentioned season 4, was that Cartridge Family?
Oh, no, that's season 9. I'm just saying in a season 4 style, that's when they really did a bunch of cutaways and thought balloons and all that.
Got it. Because Homer using the gun as a spoon reminded me of Cartridge Family in the sense of like he's using it to turn off the TV and turn the lights off in his house, and just that hilarious thing of like, it's a tool. And
that's
now
true.
It's my spoon for my weird treat.
We're not too far away from New Kids on the Block, where the guns were used to turn off like switches.
Oh yes,
and to push buttons.
That's right. Yeah. And same one. Also, the 6 years after this in the movie, Wiggum is eating donuts with his gun.
Right.
And almost shoots himself in the face.
Oh yeah.
But so then the news is reporting on it, and in my memory, I was like, yeah, the family sees this reported on TV, and that's why they end up at the thing. Like, no, it's just news reporting. I kept thinking like, okay, then it must be a deleted scene. Not in the deleted scenes on the DVD either.
Marge should say, Mr. Burns is in trouble.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Who's minding the Mr. Burns store?
Yeah.
All right, but yes, here's Brockman reporting on it.
Local authorities are confident the killer bees are just curious and won't bother us if we don't bother them. On a serious note, 2 local residents have been missing for the last 20 minutes. We take you now live to Barney's Bowl-O-Rama, and the last man who saw them see Montgomery Burns.
I don't understand. She was my young, sexy fiancée. He was my sexually virile best friend, and they just drove off in my Bugatti Sexarosa. How could this ever have happened?
Well, according to our audience Instapoll, 46% say you're too old, and 37% say she's a skank.
She's a skank. What a 2001 lighting reading there. Like, she's a skank. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bugatti Sexarosa, I believe, a reference to a Ferrari Testarossa. So.
Bugatti is a real car brand. I think you can buy a car from them for like $3 million.
Oh, okay. I should be playing Gran Turismo 7. I do like that the news is instantly on top of it, though. I do like that. And then comes another big moment in the show as we're driving along with Snake and Homer and Gloria. We arrive at Snake's house, and on the mailbox it says Snake, parenthetical, AKA Jailbird, making public an internal argument in the writer's room since season 3 of the show in Black Widower. And so, yes, in case you're new to Simpsons lore, in the original script, in his first appearance in season 2, he is named Jailbird in the script, and no one says his name out loud. And for his later appearances, he'll be referred to as Jailbird in the script. But in Black Widower, when Sideshow Bob is in jail and he's saying goodbye to people, he says, I'll miss you, Snake. He is speaking to Jailbird and he calls him Snake. And so he's Snake in the show from then on. But in the writer's room, the super hardcores are like, no, he's Jailbird. We still call him Jailbird. So this AKA Jailbird is making it now canon that he is both of those names in the Simpsons universe. Which I always prefer Snake. He's got a snake tattoo. It's fun just to hear him called Snake and then me reply with "buh." I miss that.
One thing they don't argue about is that the Sea Captain is just called the Sea Captain, but he was established as Captain McAllister, which never stuck around.
Yeah. That first episode, he's Captain McAllister, and then he's just, Sea Captain from then on.
And Snake is one of those guys they named like 3 other times. So he was like Chester Snake Turley, Snake Jailbird, Albert Knickerbocker, Aloysius Snake. They forgot that they had named him before. So they're like, no, there's his name. And then it's like, oh, wait, we did it before.
Did we name him? No, we haven't. Let's make him a funny new name for him. Yeah. And in his place, there's all types of fancy things. He's got Oscars. He's got the Maltese Falcon. They even drew like shelves of bongs. That one, when I paused and saw, I was like, wow, they got bongs on. I mean, it's pretty boring in America, bongs now. It's fairly legal in a lot of states, but back in 2001, getting bongs on TV still a tough thing to do on network TV. They snuck it in, and also
good for them.
Also, I think I read this on a wiki. I think it's possible when he asks who'd you have to kill to get a place like this, and he says, I think his name was Gustafson. That is the name. This shack is not unlike where they hide out in Fargo, and Gustafson is the name of one of the people killed in Fargo.
Really? Okay.
So I do wonder if it is a Fargo the movie reference. I wonder. By the way, that
would be kind of cool. Yeah.
That's a good the Serious Ned episode. That's the recent one that's a parody of the Fargo TV show. I like it. I think it's a good episode parodying the Fargo TV show. I don't know how great it is if you haven't really watched the Fargo TV show.
I think it's good, and I've not seen the TV show, but I do want to see it.
Which season are they referencing? I mean, because they're all kind of so different.
It's mostly the first season of Fargo. It's mostly and a little of the season 2 flashback stuff. So it's mainly 1 and 2. Not much 3 in there. Yeah.
Got it.
But
did anyone peer in Snake's place? Because I was looking around, I always love the detail. I don't remember when it was dropped that he played lacrosse at one point. So I was looking for a lacrosse stick somewhere in the hideout, and I was looking was he like a goalie? Was there a big one somewhere? But I didn't notice any, unfortunately.
There's not his diploma from Middlebury as well either, which has been previously established. He went there and has student loans.
I looked up this fact that you told us, Andrew, and that is in the Treehouse of Horror segment Hell to Pay. And that's when they're electrocuting him on a reality show or whatever, and they're giving facts about him. Snake played lacrosse at Ball State University.
Right. There you go.
Ball State. That's right.
And yeah, Ed McMahon is announcing his execution.
He executes him, yes. Yeah.
Oh, right. That's great.
But as they're being held captive, it also turns into this nagging woman kind of jokes here as Gloria lets Snake know he's being so predictable.
Let me guess. Now you're going to start working him over with the brass knuckles. You are so predictable.
It would be surprising. A foot massage.
Shut up.
Don't!
Beating a man to a bloody pulp isn't going to impress me.
It used to. What if I beat him harder?
Wow, you so don't get it.
Has the ship sailed on my foot massage suggestion?
Oh! Don't worry, Mr. Burns. We'll track down Simpson with your vehicle's anti-theft system.
Car gone. Car gone.
Yeah, we know that. Where has it gone to?
Car gone. Car gone. Car gone. Chief, this yokel says he saw Simpson driving out near Hickton.
Yo-ho. My peepers don't lie. That's nice work, Lou. Lock him up. Huh? Hey! Hey, I want that lawyer what wears a cowboy hat.
And by the way, that's not a reference to any specific lawyer. If you type in cowboy hat lawyer, you'll see like half of Southern lawyers wear cowboy hats in their ads.
Okay, yeah. I was curious. I couldn't find when I Googled that too. I was like, no, there's just a bunch of lawyers like that. But I do love. I think also that's very realistic. Like, oh yeah, the cops arrested the guy who helped him. They'd be like, oh thanks, you can put him in jail. Like, oh that. And also yes, the uselessness of that anti-theft car. The car gone.
And you're right, Henry. They never see these news broadcasts from Kent. So like Lisa shows up.
Yes.
Lisa is first on the scene. Like, don't shoot my father.
Yeah, it's even though this is like way out in the sticks, like I had to drive pretty far.
They're in Hickton, as Lou says.
Right.
Hickton.
And yeah, that. But yes, this is the usual like nagging female partner to men in this era of Simpsons of just saying like, oh, so predictable. You're just gonna beat him with brass knucks. Al Jean makes the great point that like if you were ever pistol whipped once in your life, it'd be like scar you forever, and you'd be crying about it still because it's like so horrible if you were tied to a chair and smacked in the face with a pistol. But for Homer, he just laughs it off. He's seen worse. But yeah, so the cops have surrounded the place. It's really crazy seeing Lou with his hat backwards, like this giant sniper rifle trained on Homer. But I love the line of him saying, like, I think I got a clear shot. It's like, yeah, he's tied to a chair. Of course you have a clear shot at him.
And Lisa has to say, no, that means he's a hostage.
That's great. Like they would have just shot and killed Homer if Lisa wasn't there. Which the cop shooting the wrong guy in a hostage situation, that would never happen in real life. And not
silly comedy show.
Yeah. What a silly arching up of just like we said with Veep, like these jokes about like police malpractice and brutality, like it's just we've eclipsed it 10 times 10 already. It's but yes, then they threaten to turn on the fire hoses. Like, come on, Snake, you don't want me to soak all these people. And I also forgot that in this episode, Eddie gets shot while like, I mean, you're not used to a regular of the cops getting shot in the arm. Like
he's taking it well though.
Yeah,
it's like ow.
Just a flesh wound. Yeah. Also, I mean, Snake would again. I was thinking like, oh, Snake shot a cop. He's never getting out of jail again.
No.
Like that's the end of Snake.
And you're right. They totally turned Gloria into their idea of a nag. This woman trying to get me to improve myself.
Yeah. Just like you said the same about your the phone telemarketing class. Like, yeah.
Snake's line for that though is great. Like, I just don't like bothering people at home.
That's a guy who has stolen homes from people and breaks into their homes. Telemarketing and bothering people on the phone, that's too far for him. That's too evil. He won't do it.
This third act is sloppy in a fun way, but it's like, where did this fire come from?
Yes,
the fire that should have been established, but Homer's like, I'll just burn my ropes off with this fire that's always been here.
I think this end of season 12 production stuff is maybe the most senioritis-y stretch of episodes they ever did, because like this one and Homer the Moe are both very senioritis-y of just like whatever, like let's just like Homer the Moe ends with them just going like whatever, it's Thanksgiving, who cares? So like, you know what, in this case it's like he's on fire, that gets them out, it's on fire there, that's the end of the standoff, you know. But yes, Homer does scream quite a lot in this next scene.
We're in minute 2 of this standoff. What's the situation, Chief?
Well, we have an officer sneaking around the house, Kent, so unless they have a television in there or can hear my loud talking... Yeah.
Ow.
Well, I guess that answers that, doesn't it?
I swear I can change, Gloria. I'm taking classes in computer fraud.
That's what you said about the telemarketing scams, but you didn't stick with it.
I don't like bothering people at home.
Good fire. Keep burning. Almost there. Just a little more. Oh, wait.
I mean, I do like the comedy too that Homer wants the fire to selectively burn his ropes and then it just engulfs him in flame. Like that's good. Yeah,
And he's talking to it like it's a dog, which is a fucking great. Like good fire.
But yes, in this entire section here, you have to remind yourself, like, wait, she's a cop. Why did she want to help? And if she's trying to make him better at being a criminal, you could get some comedy out of that being her weird because she's a police officer, that she's also trying to make him a better criminal.
I thought of a better ending, actually, based on that, where this could all be like a sting. Like, she let herself get kidnapped so Wiggum could arrest Snake.
Oh,
That's good work, Gloria, or whatever.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's a better ending.
It would remember that she's a cop, at least.
Yes, yeah. You know,
because that's like when there's the line about like whatever it is, like whatever Snake's antics, you used to like this, and it's like, when you were also still a cop? Like, how do you just drop a huge thing like that? It's just really slop city, man.
And her being a dirty cop with him is another character detail. Like, that actually could. There totally is that's a thing in media, the dirty cop who's actually dating a criminal and they're helping each other, like, commit crimes. You could do something with that, but I guess that wouldn't make Gloria a normal woman. Like, that would make her, like, too evil or interesting. Like, and they just instead default of, like, no, she just nags you to take online courses and improve. Like that. Like, that's like, she should be also saying, why didn't you take a self-help book, or you never flush the toilet or close the toilet lid, So apparently in one draft here, this ending was, and I kind of wish they'd have kept it, that Burns would have taken his Viagra stand-in to give himself the energy to save her. I wish they'd have kept that. I think him getting it earnestly through, like, actually caring about a woman, that's too nice. That's too empathetic for Burns. I'd rather, I think it's funnier and uses a plot device from Act 2 to, like, Burns gets horny to save her, and then he's like, well, I'm hard as a rock, but really I did it to get her out of this burning building.
It's a nice twist that she has to save him, though.
That's good. I like that. And the extremeness of the cheat, that the silhouette is obviously Burns holding her, and then it just swaps. It swaps to the silhouette of her holding Burns. Like, it's so great in its cheapness. But yes, this also is another great line here, though, of Wiggum talking to Burns. I do like this here.
It's too dangerous. But I got a sister you might like. She's completely hairless, like those cats.
I don't care if she's Miss Hairless America. I'm spoken for. Step aside. I'll save Gloria myself.
You? No offense, but you're a decrepit monkey skeleton.
Perhaps, but this monkey skeleton is in love. Who am I kidding? Just a feeble old man. Gloria!
And then he busts in and saves her, or almost dies, and she saves him. But she's, it's a cute drawing of them together like that. But yeah, I kind of, it's also a weird, it almost feels like a Take That Lisa moment where says, like, he saved her himself. And he's like, oh, well, okay, I guess, the point is they're alive. Like,
Lisa only showed up to be dumped on, it sounds like.
I know, to be wrong about something. Honestly, though, Lisa should like this reversal in, of gender norms here. I feel like Lisa should celebrate that, not laugh at it or think she's wrong. But yeah, so we have one last clip here as everything seems to be happy. This, again, when I say that, like, this is senioritis, it feels like they realized, well, Gloria and Burns aren't going to be together in the next episode. We don't want Burns to be happy and married, so what do we do? And they completely sell out her character is what they do.
This final thing they go out on feels a lot like the Simpsons Tall Tales episode, in which at the end of that one, like as the episode is winding down, it's like Homer and the hobo just having casual small talk about a very minor subject, and then just like it kind of peters out. That's what this feels like too, where they're talking about what is a devil beard.
But here's our final clip.
Wow, Mr. Burns, how did you do that?
Never forget, Homer. There's no muscle stronger than the human heart.
What about the wiener? A guy on TV lifted a can of paint with his.
Yes.
Oh, Monty, you saved me. And to think I was once in love with that dirty lowlife, with his arrogant smirk, gutter mouth, tough guy attitude, macho tattoos, hair that can't be tamed, prison sculpted body. I'm sorry, Monty. Oh, Snake, don't ever change.
But you... I don't get it, Simpson. I'm a bad boy.
Oh, I know.
I'm absolutely evil.
You're preaching to the choir, man.
What do I have to do? Grow a devil beard?
Devil beard?
You know, a little goatee thing.
You mean a Van Dyke?
No, a Van Dyke has a mustache, doesn't it?
I think it can. Are you talking about a soul patch?
No! Wait, maybe.
But it's so like I laughed out loud when Bart just enters. Like, where Bart? This is the first time Bart has said anything in this episode, wasn't it?
Since his shark butt. He ordered shark butt, so it's been 20 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that in Simpsons Safari. Bart just goes, "I haven't said anything in a while."
Yes.
When he just has a weird joke.
Very similar, yeah.
And where did Marge come from?
No, this absolutely. Her. Honestly, I like that because it's a dumb turn to have her be like, oh, of course the lady likes the bad boys because that's how women are. But having Marge say, that at least drives home how stupid this turn is.
But it's also I sort of read it as like I've seen this before, like, you know, Marge has kind of been around, like,
oh sure,
not the first time she's seen the bad boy win over kind of a thing.
Prison chiseled body. Yeah,
I mean Gloria has heard that Burns blotted out the sun.
Yeah,
isn't she enough of a bad boy? He enough of a bad boy for her?
I know, it's like Burns.
That's true.
I mean, obviously, I would assume Snake is a better lover than Burns for sure. But you're gonna have a better time in the bedroom. But I think that's why Burns saying all this stuff at the end here is just like, wait, the end of this episode is that I'm not bad enough for her. I'm the evilest man in town. What? This is a terrible. It's really them dumping on their own ending here.
I feel like I kind of want one of these cells of the family walking off in the sunset and Homer has his arm around Burns. I feel like it would be a cheaper cell because nobody really likes this episode. I just I don't know, $500. Give me the family talking to Burns.
It is kind of a nice shot with the sunset. I was sort of admiring it as the episode closes out.
I was shocked it didn't. The credits music wasn't an NRBQ song again, though. I was kind of surprised.
Let's get three.
Yeah.
Three.
They gotta have one that fits for a sunset. I also at the time when I saw this episode the first time, I didn't think it was too bad until something about in my first watch when I was 19 was that I just did not like Homer saying, "What about the wiener?" Like, I guess it's not too out of character for Homer to say like, "Oh, I saw a guy do this on TV," but there's just something about Homer saying, "What about the wiener?" Like, I just go like, okay, I don't know.
You know, can I posit that I think what it might be is the fact that it's like a grown adult man saying wiener instead of anything else?
Sure.
I don't know. Just wiener to me is like that's a teenager's thing saying wiener.
Let Homer say Wang.
And it's Homer Simpson. He'd be crasser than that. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, it also really, again, just like Jello shots, speaks to the late 90s, early aughts times because we were all sharing videos online then, but also like in Jackass, the show, they met one of those guys who drags things that attaches a thing to his penis. Like basically you've got penis, then a chain or a hook attached to that penis, and then a chain attached to that hook, and he does like dangle paint cans or drag things, or also just like move it. Yeah, I remember I can visualize Steve-O looking at a guy yanking on his penis in such a rough manner.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, was Homer watching Howard Stern or something? Or no, it was Jackass for sure.
Totally. Yeah, I would bet too. But.
That actually reminded me of the I don't know if you guys have watched I think it's in the first season of How To with John Wilson on HBO.
Oh, I gotta watch that show.
A guy. Oh man, there is I mean, it's the whole thing is brilliant and they're really fast. They're, you know, half-hour episodes, but there's an episode where he is talking to a guy who's a proponent of undoing circumcision by basically like just pulling on it and twisting on it for a really long time. And this dude is like, it's hysterical. And it's like him casually talking about this, like while he has like things dangling from his penis that are like weighted to and this guy's got a family and they're like there for the interview, not while the penis is out, but like they're there like, yeah, this is my dad, man, and this is going to be on TV. Isn't that fantastic?
You know, it's okay to have an opinion.
Recommend, by the way.
It's okay to have an opinion about that, but that shouldn't be the one thing you are believing in, and the one thing that you make your like passion.
And to reclaim foreskin. It's also like, guys, you know, if you lost it as a kid, don't go chasing that dragon. You know, it's like trying to chase the sunset. You'll never catch it. You're circumcised. That's just how it is.
I want to point out that this episode goes live April 20th for patrons, a week later for non-patrons, and that means you can still catch NRBQ at the end of their tour. So if you're in Burlington, Vermont, Ledyard Center, Connecticut, or Portland, Massachusetts,
wow,
you can go see NRBQ. And I bet if you see them on 420, there's gonna be some weed around, guys.
Oh man,
it's gonna be NRBQ ditchweed though, so watch out.
Those cities are the perfectest cities for NRBQ. And that, I mean, Burlington, Vermont, the Portland, Maine, like that screams NRBQ's East Coast tour. To me, yeah, you probably will have to smoke crappy weed with like a man in his 60s with Mike Scully. Mike
Scully will pass a doobie to you.
You know what? Mike Scully works in Hollywood. He's got access to the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's bringing the good. Though I guess, you know, is he going to travel with it to Burlington, Vermont? I don't know. He's going to have to use local.
If you don't see them in April, you have to wait till June, and that's 2 months without NRBQ in your life. Do you want to wait until June 7th to see them in Boston? I know I don't.
Oh, man, you could hear, if you went to it, how many songs would you recognize from hearing us talk about it on this podcast? And as they argue about what a Van Dyke is, I'm going to go with the Wikipedia description, which is a Van Dyke is a style of facial hair named after the 17th century Flemish painter Anthony Van Dyck. It is one that is defined by the beard. It needs goatee and mustache. It has to be both. Like Lisa, at least according to the Wikipedia definition, a Van Dyke is mustache and goatee. It can't just be a goatee style that way.
That's good to know.
just to settle that argument. Anyway, yeah, it's a very deflated ending that feels like almost like they had a checklist of saying, well, we can't end this episode. We need to check in with the family one more time for this episode. This can't be the Mr. Burns in Love episode.
My final thoughts are it could be better. It's very messy, but we're in a real Burns drought. I'm just happy to see him. I'm happy to hear him. I'm happy to get any new Burns material. So that really boosts this episode for me. Any final thoughts from you, Andrew?
Yeah, just that, like, you know, and on this episode itself, I was continuing my crusade of, like, ragging on later Simpsons. But, you know, I feel like every time I come on, like, I'm always learning something from you guys. And, like, this is, like, I'm being reminded that there are good jokes in here, for sure. And things that I, you know, carried with me for a while, just saying to my friends, like, a bunch of Simpsons lines, you know, and I said knee. I mean, that was, boy, we talked about that a lot. Yeah, but also just a total brutal reminder, man. I mean, like that first act with all the Chinese stuff, you know, even something from 2001, you know, which now is 21 years ago. Yeah, could still be dated and shitty and, yeah, so that's a total bummer, but There's some gems in here, which is cool. And, you know, probably my favorite visual gag is the pistol whip, which I've been looking at Bob's background the entire recording here. He's got Homer eating with the gun in his mouth. It's just fucking great. So, yeah, little gems, problematic minefield here and there. But,
I really needed Mr. Burns' sex life to shove all the Chinatown content out of my brain.
We immediately forgot about it.
Yes, yeah. Until you said that, Andrew, I was like, right. We talked all about Chinatown like an hour and a half ago on this podcast.
But thank you so much, Andrew, for being on the show. You're from We Hate Movies. Please let everyone know about that. And you have a ton of Patreon exclusive miniseries like The Nexus and Melrose 210 and Once in a Lifetime. I'm trying to think of them all. Gleep Glossary. Side Order Sleaze sometimes. What's going on with We Hate Movies?
Yeah, no, we are busy folks. So we would argue maybe a little too busy. But yeah, patreon.com/We Hate Movies is where you can find all those side shows. We love talking about Star Trek, Star Wars, you know, things of that nature. Lifetime movies is what Once in a Lifetime is all about. We also have a sort of monthly entry, We Love Movies, where we rag on movies that we really like and are important to us. And so if this is coming out in April, will have been past our March listener request month. But I will say, I think, Bob, you said for Patreon folks on your end, this will be coming out on 4/20.
Exactly.
So just to sort of plug, for 24, we're kicking off some Northeast tour dates. We're doing just a few: Boston, DC, and Philly. You can find all that stuff on Patreon.com or on WHMPodcast.com. And there's a tour page there. It has all the ticketing info and all that stuff. We're doing 3 Sylvester Stallone movies for the sort of thread through our Northeast dates. So that'll be a lot of fun. And
maybe you guys will cross paths with NRBQ on your tour.
That is, fingers crossed, Bob, that I can finally track those guys down and maybe hear a song of theirs, because I literally feel the only time I hear about NRBQ is either on the show or just when I'm watching The Simpsons in general and they kind of come up or something. But it is a band that, as far as my brain knows, doesn't technically exist. But clearly, Simpsons creators love it, and Burlington, Vermont, definitely.
When you stop at any rest stop or gas station, keep an eye out for the NRBQ tour bus. I'm sure it must be huge and opulent. The giant.
And tell them we sent you. They'll be very confused.
Yes, yeah. But I'm so happy you guys are getting back out on the road. I can't. I wish I could see you guys when you're out there, but I hope you guys can come to the West Coast again someday too. We would love to see you in person.
Yeah, that is in the works. So fingers crossed, we do have some info there. Hopefully for the back part of this year, but we'll see. Yeah, it was a long drought of not playing shows, and luckily we got to do some at the tail end of last year. It was a lot of fun getting out there again and seeing folks and, sort of feeling the room, which is definitely different than sitting in my studio talking to the 3 guys alone. So it's a lot of fun, and so we hope if folks can make it, we hope to see you out there in a couple days.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you so much to Andrew Jupin for being on the show once again. Please check out We Hate Movies and everything that they do. As for us, if you want to check out more of what we do and get all these episodes 1 week ahead of time and ad-free, please go to patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons. Sign up for $5 a month to get just that, but also access to everything behind that $5 paywall. There's over 100 bonus episodes that you haven't heard behind that paywall if you're not a patron. And if you are on the $5 level, you get access to monthly episodes of both Talking Futurama and Talking of the Hill, our 2 monthly Patreon-exclusive miniseries, only behind the $5 paywall, only at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons. And there's a $10 level as well. When you sign up for that, you get all the $5 stuff naturally, but also access to 1 Megalon podcast once a month, only for patrons of that level or higher. And what is that, Henry?
Bob is talking about the What? A Cartoon Movie Podcast. In addition to all those $5 things, we do a once a month super long premium podcast where we talk about an animated feature film, often for over 5 hours even. Recent ones have included, back in February, we did South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. That was a big hit. Last month, we did Pinocchio, the Disney Golden Age classic. This month, we're finally doing it. The live-action animated crossover film of our childhoods, Roger Rabbit. Check out what will surely be a great and long podcast, all at the $10 level, and the entire back catalog of 3 years plus in movies at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons. Sign up there today. Just visit there and you'll see an easy-to-follow list of it. Patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons.
So I've been one of your hosts, Bob Mackey. You can find me on Twitter as Bob Servo. I have another podcast, by the way, that is called Retronauts. It's a classic gaming podcast about old video games. You can find that podcast wherever you find your podcasts, or go to patreon.com/Retronauts. Sign up there for 2 full-length bonus episodes every month. And Henry, how about you?
Follow me on Twitter at HENEREYG. You'll stay up to date in the world of Henry Gilbert. And if you're following me and Bob on Twitter, you should really follow the official Twitter account of this podcast at Talk Simpsons Pod. At Talk Simpsons Pod. We'll keep you up to date whenever there's new stuff going on in our world as well. Why not go to the website TalkingSimpsonsPodcast.com for an easy-to-follow back catalog of all of our previously non-Patreon exclusive podcasts. All of it's there at Talk Simpsons Pod on Twitter and TalkingSimpsonsPodcast.com.
Thanks so much for joining us, folks. We'll see you again next time for the April episode of our community podcast, Talk to the Audience, and we'll see you then.
Burns looks happy today. Watch me take advantage of his good mood. Mr. Burns, can I have a raise?
Clean out your desk, you're gone.
Well, I had a good run.